Hello, everybody. Welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeremy, and I'd always imagined me a little taller. Isn't that odd? Joining me tonight, why does this man have a furry face? It's Jordan, who, like Riker, is being promoted to captain by the end of this outing. Hello, Jordan.
Heck yes, and here's a bloody knife. You'll need it for later.
Thank you.
Just trust me.
To my right, it's my wife, Chelsea, and her voice shall echo through time long after ours has faded to a dim memory. Hello, Chelsea.
Hey, guys. Really sorry about that.
Great. The Sona, Cybok, Soren. She seems to get all the boring assignments. It's Leta. Hello, Leta.
Oh, hello. Don't worry. I won't touch you, though.
Very good. Next up, she wasn't human, but her wonder, her curiosity about every facet of human nature allowed all of us to see the best part of ourselves. She evolved, she embraced change, because she always wanted to be better than she was. It's our Chief Medical Officer, Joselyn. Hello, Joselyn.
Hello, Jeremy. I just want to thank you for giving me time off yesterday for my wedding, and I'm back at work as expected.
Great.
Hopefully nothing traumatic happens.
Very smooth.
Give our regards to Mr. Joselyn.
Oh,
To my left, it's my teenage son, Connor. Connor, you are me. The same noble Reed blood runs through our veins. Had you lived my life, you'd be podcasting exactly as I am. So look in the mirror. See yourself. Consider that, Connor. I can think of no greater torment for you. Hi, Connor.
Hi, Dad. And I cannot agree more.
So depressing. The movie we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council that left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate the movies and new Trek episodes yourself. You can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all on there very active and love talking Trek with you. The council also does a movie follow-up roundtable podcast hosted by senior council member James King. In fact, they just finished doing a roundtable of Insurrection, so give that a listen. Those release a couple weeks after ours premieres, so if you're interested in participating in any of those future movie roundtables, contact us through that Facebook page. Now, before we get started, I don't know exactly when I wrote this down or why, but this is in my notes.
Okay.
Do you know what John Travolta's favorite martial art is?
No.
Krav Maga. All right. In the meantime,
I don't want to do this podcast anymore.
In the meantime, we are reviewing the 10th and final Next Gen movie. So let's get started.
I am what you see now.
I see more than that. I see what you could be. The man who is Shinzon of Remus and Jean-Luc Picard could never exterminate the population of an entire planet. He's better than that.
He is what his life has made him.
Then what will you do with that life?
Waste it in a blaze of hatred.
There is a better way.
It's too late.
Never, never. You still have a choice. Make the right one now.
I can't fight what I am.
Star Trek Nemesis, released on December 9th, 2002. Screenplay by John Logan, Brent Spiner. Directed by Stuart Baird. Captain Jean-Luc Picard diverts the Starship Enterprise from its scheduled trip to Commander Riker and Counselor Troy's wedding to negotiate a peace treaty with the Romulans. Picard is shocked when Shinzon, the new praetor of the Romulans, admits to being a clone of him. When the crew members discover a break-in on their computer, they are forced into a life-or-death battle to stop Shinzon's warbird before it can destroy the Earth.
All right. Thank you, Barbara Whipple, for that synopsis. Just looking around the room, it looks like one of us just sacrificed ourselves for the podcast. A lot of somber looking faces. I hope that doesn't give away too much of what everybody thought. But let's get into our initial reactions. Let's go around the table and give brief summaries and thoughts. Chelsea, what's your initial reaction to Nemesis? Coming off the high of Insurrection for you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this real short and just say fucking yikes.
No.
That is all.
Oh, all right. So we don't know if that means she loved it or not, but that's a good teaser.
Both.
She loved it and hates it.
As much as she loves and hates herself.
That's our
My precious.
Lord of the Rings reference.
Hey,
All right,
what's the deal with Hobbit food?
Leta, what are your initial reactions for Nemesis?
I really wanted to like it. And I still want to like it somehow. I think that's my initial observation.
Great. Again, we'll see what all that means, but I think we could say pretty positive so far. Connor,
Yes.
initial reaction to Nemesis. Had you ever seen Nemesis before?
I saw Nemesis many a year ago. When I wore a younger man's clothes.
Besides the 3 times a year where we watch it, of course.
Yes, consecutively.
Yeah.
In one day. I think I watched this like 5 years ago. And I just kind of thought it was boring. And now
Really
coming
eating your
back.
words, huh?
Yeah, I'm really eating my words. This movie is the greatest film ever made. But I was really disappointed by it. I wanted, like Leta said, I wanted to like this movie. And I think this is with all these weak outings for next gen, like there's something interesting here. There's something really good, but it falls flat in the execution. And this movie was not cash money, as the hip current kids would say. This movie was not crunk, frankly.
I was so worried you were going to say that.
Deep Space Nine, we always kept it crunk. I don't know what that means.
But it's true.
It's true.
Thank you, Connor. Joselyn, initial reaction?
I was very distracted the whole movie, and I'm just gonna put it out there now because this is gonna pop up periodically. But young Tom Hardy. That's my initial reaction, my mid reaction, my final reaction, and yeah, that's my pros. That's it. Basically, I'm very distracted.
I was distracted as well, but I think for different reasons.
We'll see. Very interesting. Okay. And yeah, you have his background picture as your background. And yeah, he does look like a tasty meal there for sure. A little
right?
veiny and pasty for my taste.
Scrawny, 140-pound, big nose.
He looks
bald
like
man.
he looks like Voldemort
Kryptonite.
if he got a facelift.
I don't know. I can't justify this, okay? I'm just saying.
You're
I was
right.
distracted, okay?
You can't. Tom Hardley, I call him.
Can't help what you like.
Jordan,
He can't keep getting away with it.
initial thoughts.
I'm gonna pass.
Okay.
I would say Chelsea's effing yikes about covers my sentiments exactly.
Okay.
I don't think that I have ever been more disappointed in a Star Trek film. I guess a Star Trek script in general, and that this was allowed to be the final film of the franchise is an abomination. It's really sad. And sometimes it's like, I can understand people can shut their brain off and watch this movie and be somewhat entertained. But if you're watching it in any critical way, it does not hold up. And it's terrible. There's so many decisions here do not make sense. But I've got a lot of cons, Jeremy. So I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
What did you think?
Well, it looks like once again, much like Voyager, it's going to be up to me to provide all the pros and defense of this. But I don't have much. After being pleasantly surprised from the Insurrection rewatch, I had mild hopes this would be a similar experience. It wasn't. Though I was pretty into it, like the first half hour more than I thought. So for a while there, I was okay until basically the moment Shinzon appears, I think. And that's not a slight to Tom Hardy. It's just.
Well, that's when I lost it too. So.
Yeah, we both lost it. I just lost my will to live, so it's a bit different. But
I'm learning so much.
all right, let's get into
More
our
like Tom Pickardly.
top pros. So if you guys have more than 3 pros, I got to remind you, only 3 pros this round, okay, guys? 3 tops. Chelsea, we'll start with you. And again, only your top 3 pros this round, Chelsea.
All right, pros. The shot of the Imperial Senate on is it Romulus or Romulan?
Romulus.
That was cool. Picard's speech at Riker and Troy's wedding was great. He told Data to shut up, which was interesting and reminded me of Wesley. So that's kind of, I don't know why that's a pro, to be honest. It's actually just kind of sad. We're doing 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. I guess calling Riker Mr. Troy was pretty solid because he looked really offended and he shouldn't be. That's an honor.
I love
Very
that.
fair.
After all, he's the Reacher, she's the Settler.
Ooh,
So
zinger.
Yeah.
and I'll
Facts.
those are I guess you can call those top 3. I don't know, they're all pretty subpar, but that's all I got.
All right, Chelsea, thank you for your top 3.
Hey, they didn't give me a lot to work with.
Wow. Leta, top 3.
All right. I actually loved the whole crew tormenting Worf about having to attend the wedding in his birthday suit. He does such a good, uncomfortable face. And I love that they drag him away from DS9 just to torment him the entire time. It was also just nice to see everybody like so happy and jovial while they celebrated together. And that wedding was perfectly 2000s core. Very soft pastel. Also, second one, I think Tom Hardy did a really good job in this for different reasons than what Joselyn is distracted by. But I think that he's an incredible actor, and it's not his fault that he was written by a stale old man deeply rooted in patriarchy. But we'll,
Burn.
we'll nudge that later. And this is mostly an error on my part, but I had to add it into pros. When Data was breaking Picard out of Tom Hardy's ship, he yells, "Move, puny animal, human animal." And Picard, he's like, tells him to be a bit less florid. And I 100% laughed so hard because I thought that he said, "A bit less Florida, Data."
Oh.
And I just accepted it. I accepted it. He was telling Data to act like not so much a Floridian. And it confused me so much. I had to watch it over again, and I was like, oh, he did not say Florida.
Yeah, that's more of a
That makes more
Packwood thing.
But I don't know. Yeah, those are my 3.
Very good. Thank you, Leta. Connor,
We're on a roll.
top 3.
All right. Well, I think this movie had really good effects, I think that's been pretty consistent throughout these, but the effect of the Enterprise going into the Scimitar, which is a cool name for a ship, just crashing into it was a really impressive effect. There's just so many shots in this of the Enterprise going through space that's just beautiful, because I think prior to when it's not a Star Trek movie or the newer shows that have budgets, you're either in the black void with white stars painted on, or a purple void with stars painted on. So it's just really nice beauty shots of this new Enterprise, the Enterprise NKVD. Oh wait, that was a secret police. Never mind. The Enterprise ZBS-DDD. I don't know what it's called.
E.
The Enterprise E. I'm so sorry. I'm not. Listen, I
Close.
ain't some sort of historian. I don't know all these gay things.
Overcomplicating.
Learning
It's just
things.
one letter.
Yeah. Don't make no sense to me,
How
butter.
many pros was that?
Oh, that was one. I'll say this. I was desperately searching for my third pro 3 minutes ago, but I found it, all right? And it was Data singing Blue Sky at that wedding. When it first started, I'm like, Brett Spiner, you can't sing at all. You suck. And then he's going on. I'm like, oh, I'm down with the sickness. And by that, I mean hepatitis. But yes, I'm also down with the sickness of this beat because he was laying it down. But here, the worst con of all was that they cut him off.
Aren't we on pros?
Well, yeah, but I can still complain if I want to. But I wanted the whole thing because it was so good.
I'll allow it.
On a technicality.
But that's true because it was just getting good, and then they're like, oh,
Yeah.
getting too good, cut away.
It was that hurt my heart. Speaking of Data, I actually quite liked Brett Spiner in this movie. I think that he did a really fantastic job in his final outing. His final sacrifice, while making no sense, was like there wasn't some sort of like big speech or anything. He beams Picard away and he says like goodbye, basically to himself, and then he goes kaplutz.
Goodbye, me.
Goodbye, me. I'm gonna kill you to death. He blows himself up. But I really did think that given the material, I think Brett Spiner did a fantastic job. Also, that man's got pipes. So that's all I'll say.
Data probably literally does.
Probably. Yeah, this movie was a travesty. Next.
Thank you for your pros. Joselyn, top 3 pros.
All right, I'm going to start where I always start with pros, and that is the fashion. Troy's wedding dress. I know that it was pink, and a cascade of like actual flowers, but damn it, I liked it. I just liked it, and I thought she looked amazing, and she was giving really good face, like the whole time. And when Picard was giving his speech, like the emotion in her face, like sold it for me. Shinzon's uniform is glorious. The extravagant shoulder pads, the oil slick on polyester with that like purple undertone anchoring the whole thing, the way it kind of looks like something a runner-up would have worn for Sci-Fi Week on RuPaul's Drag Race. I love it. I love it. And like Connor, I was struggling to find a number 3 for top fashion, and I have not found it. But I'll tell you what it's not. It's not B4's outfit. Like, put some effort in, man. That's the best you have. Sackcloth, cinched at the waist.
You got to do better.
You be better, B4.
It was laundry day.
Those are my top pros.
Like, I don't even know much about fashion, but I know sackcloth.
Never good. Never good.
Or at least make it a black sackcloth because that's slimming.
Sackcloth, more like crap sloth.
Yeah,
because it is not good. It is not the cat's
I feel like you just
meow.
needed to add like a chunky boat and like a strategically placed beanie, and he would fit right into a Carhartt ad.
Okay. Now you're talking Kanye 2014, and that was passed.
Just needs accessories.
Yeah, he does need to accessorize. You're exactly right.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Those are my pros. I'm sorry. That's all I have.
Just your top pros.
Those are my top pros. Of course,
good.
I have more.
All right. Hopefully Jordan doesn't steal them all. Jordan, top 3 pros.
Oh man, which 3 do I want to pick from? Well, if you like it or not, this is pretty much the last time that we see all these characters together. And I don't like it, but there's like a nostalgic factor to this crew. And there is some character interaction, but it's very limited. So my second pro is Troy and Riker's wedding. I think that's one of the better scenes, and just the fact that they get an on-screen wedding and Picard gets to give his speech and he gets to marry them. I thought that was awesome. And there's a lot of people that like even see Wesley, and the best part about it is Wesley doesn't have any dialogue, so I really appreciated that. And lastly, I really like the scimitar. I think just like the name of the ship, the fact that Shinzon loves knives and sharp objects kind of matches, and it is, like Picard says, it looks like a Predator. Like it's just a really cool looking ship. Aside from that, that's all the three I'll save some pros, Jeremy. I will save some for you, and I'll save some for later. So that's all I got.
Good. Look forward to that. Yeah, I really like the wedding too. Futuristic drum cymbals and Wesley aside, I really enjoyed it. I know it's a future. I don't know if that means you have to have green drum cymbals.
Yeah, as someone who plays the drums, I was physically repulsed by seeing that man play that like orange peel instrument.
Yeah. But Picard's best man speech I thought was legitimately funny and heartfelt, and I really dug it. I thought that was really good, and I like the wedding. It was nice to see Guinan.
For a cameo.
Yeah, for just a cameo. Maybe that's more neutral zone, and we're in my top 3 pros.
Hey, this movie's no Generations, all right? It's on the budget.
Think of this movie as an echo of Generations. Star Trek Picard and Lower Decks have really helped raise some of this film for me. And I guess that kind of goes with, if you don't like any of the new Trek and you don't like Nemesis, then anytime they bring up Nemesis stuff in New Trek, it just makes you go like, this is why I hate New Trek. They're talking about the bad movie. But as someone who likes the new Trek and maybe doesn't love Nemesis, I thought it raised some. You get like B4 and Blue Skies and Data's death, and touched more on in Picard. And the Titan, of course, you see more in Lower Decks. So it's nice to hear that shout out here. And yeah, I like Shinzon's shiny suit.
His Joseph's Technicolor raincoat outfit that he's got going on.
It was cool. I liked it. All right, let's get into any
raincoat or rape coat.
Well,
oh wow, have we news for you?
Calm down. Silence. All right, we'll have order.
Sorry.
Order.
Jordan dipping into my cons already.
Oh, we're going to be dipping in.
Oh wow.
We'll have order in this podcast court, sir. We'll hold you in contempt.
God.
We are still in pros.
Sorry.
I will clear this courtroom. All right, Chelsea, let's hit us with the rest of your remaining pros or neutral zones if you have them.
So this was touched on, but Brent Spiner singing Blue Skies like gave me chills, and that makes a lot of sense, in Picard. So that tied that in for me. Guinan spotting, I put it as a pro because like I'm lacking. So these are all very small pros. The E looks like a bad bitch. Woo! She's cool.
Yeah, Enterprise
She's
E.
like really cool. I actually really liked the whole Picard, Data, and Worf away mission on the Argo. Do we get to see that much? I don't feel like I've seen that much.
The Argo?
No, the 3 of those guys.
Just together?
Just the 3 of them.
Oh, I don't think so.
Well, I liked it. I liked the whole dynamic. And Worf, like, sitting in the back of that ATV, it looked like he was, like, strapped into a car seat. So, like, reminded me of, like, the drunk dad and his buddy, and, like, the kid tagged along because, like, the mom was like, no, you have to take him. The graphics, I think Connor touched on that, was a lot better. I actually liked the Argo. It was giving me like some hardcore Mass Effect 1 vibes, so that was cool.
I got that reference.
I liked the sassy Worf. Every time we get sassy Worf, I think it's a win. This is kind of weird, but I was not prepared to see Janeway, let alone be excited about that. But it's kind of crazy how much I really like Kate Mulgrew when she's not surrounded by the asshats on Voyager, so that worked for me personally. And then Tom Hardy's like crazy colored armor was great. And then is it the scimitar? What's scimitar? What's it called?
Scimitar.
Scimitar. Yeah, I like that shit.
Scimitar.
The scimitar.
The Skeletor.
Skeletor is the one that delivers milk.
The scimitar. That seems fitting. And then do we do like neutral zones now?
Yes.
Okay. Is it B4 or like the word before? Is it like the letter B and then the number 4? Or is it before?
Yeah, right the first time.
Letter
B.
and number.
And then what are those like Mad Max people on the sand planet? What are they?
Good question.
What's their story? What's that about?
The Tom Hardy pigmen? I don't know.
What are they doing? Like they came out of nowhere.
For no reason?
Yeah. And then
Foreshadowing.
Data being killed was a huge con, but I think the way they did it and the fact that he just kind of like sacrificed himself, moved it to a neutral zone. But like that really sucked. Especially because like he spent the first part of the movie just straight up on Picard's nerves. And then he just like blows himself up for the guy.
It's called dedication.
Yeah.
He's on that grind set.
He's not even a human, but he's a better human than me. So that's my pros.
All right. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, any remaining pros or neutral zones?
Yes. Guinan's 23 marriages. That's amazing. I want to know more. And I feel like we need to watch out because it's probably going to be a mini series next year. So
It's called 23 and Me.
23 and G.
Yeah.
23 and Whoopi.
I love seeing Janeway. And I liked the orange jumpsuit.
Okay. Ooh. Controversial take.
But that's it.
Oh, no. Thanks, Leta. Connor, any remaining pros or neutral zones from you?
I have quite a few, actually. So I loved Picard's speech to Shitson.
Shinzon.
Oh, yes,
Connor.
Yes, of course.
You shits on the throne. I mean, shins. Shoot.
Careless of you.
I must have slipped my mind. It's a Freudian slip.
Shits on of the Skinitar. Could be a parody.
Different movie.
But Picard's speech to Shinzon. There we go. We're doing it live. When he says,
"And what would that make? What would you do with that knife? Go out in a blaze of hatred?"
you know, it does not sound like that. I'm so sorry, but you know, what would you do with that life? Go out in a blaze of hatred.
It's not too late to make the right choice. I am the last one.
I thought that was a really fantastic speech, no matter how much I butcher it. But that was pretty good. I'll before I go with the rest of my pros, because this is kind of a pro, but it's a neutral zone. Bane Hardy. I like his first few parts before he turns into Vane Man.
Vane Hardy.
Tom Vaney.
Vane Bane.
Insane into Vane Bane.
Before they release the full might of the Vane Zone, I actually like his first appearance quite a bit. I really enjoyed his character.
I liked it too because the lights were off.
Nobody cared who I was until I became the Praetor.
Exactly.
Yeah, watching this movie would be extremely painful for you. I swear, there's only one more that you must endure. You think poor writing is your ally, but you merely adopted the writing. I was born in it.
Molded. You don't want to do that, Hardy. Oh, Shinzon. Where's Data? Where is he? Where are the other Romulans going? I'm not a crook.
Anyway, I'm so sorry. The Dominion War continues to get mentions in these films, which I think is fantastic. Now, I would have preferred a Cisco or a Kira or someone cameo, but we'll take what we can get. Troy gets to do something with her psychic powers. Well, wait. Not that this is a pro. Okay. Wait. Maybe you should let me finish before you give me a face, Mister. Because wait, you people are all shaking your heads. All right, listen here. I'm talking about the scene where she's helping
the Ouija board scene with Worf.
Yes, the Ouija board scene. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Good Lord. Do you think, yeah, actually, Shinzon, listen, bro, he's a lonely man. Like, what do you think I'm getting at? You people.
Connor, no one said a thing. We're just letting you finish your sentence.
Everyone's turning against me.
No one said a thing.
One of you would betray me. Anyway, but wait, no. Wait, I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant to say. The Ouija board scene where she's like using her psychic powers to locate the cloak ship. I thought that was really clever. Not the other thing, people.
That was a good use of Deanna.
Thank you. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like a futuristic version of a lineup scene.
Mm-hmm. The Romulan Senate was a really fantastic set. I like that kind of blending. That's a cool thing about the Romulans and the Vulcans is that they at one are like very scientifically advanced and deeply intelligent and methodical, but at the same time there's kind of this mysticism or kind of ancient kind of way to their architecture and traditions that I think is really an interesting dichotomy. Yeah. Well, I stretched this out as long as I could with finding as many pros as I could think of, but that has come to an end.
You did well.
Thank you.
I mean, you spent half of your pros just trying to recover from the pro you were trying to say, but...
That's true, because I was taken out of context by the fake news media.
Okay, thanks, Connor. Joselyn, any remaining pros or neutral zones?
Both. Marina Sirtis is a joy and a gift to us all. Kate Mulgrew is a joy and a gift to us all. I think Chelsea mentioned this, but I really thought the space dune buggy was very cool. And that whole scene, although it kind of breaks down when you run it through some logic centers, but in and of itself, very cool, like chase scene there. I feel like this is my last pro because I'm really trying to, like, I feel like on paper that like the pitch session for this movie, it sounds great, right? Like, okay, let's say the Romulans stole Picard's DNA and they make a Picard, and because they plan on switching him out. I'm like, yeah, I'm there. We'll get Patrick Stewart to play both parts, and finally we can get like an actual bad Patrick Stewart, not a Borg Patrick Stewart with like no personality, like evil Patrick Stewart, evil Picard. Like he can do it. He's a Shakespearean actor, and I feel like he's never been tapped into that way, and they failed to do it here, which is like, hey, that would have been so good. I don't know. That would have been amazing. So like they were halfway there and then just kind of all fell apart. So there's a pro tucked in there somewhere. Neutral zone wise, how long has Jean-Luc been bald? Has he
came out
been
the
bald
womb.
since his teens?
He got cradle cap as a baby and it just never grew back.
And it just never grew back.
He had hair in that one episode.
Well, I know, and then he had that
got stabbed
from college, and I was like, okay, so you've always been bald? Like okay, fine. Just a question. And then this is problematic, but I'm just gonna say it, okay? No offense.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
No offense. But if I'm in bed with Riker and Tom Hardy shows up,
What?
I'm sorry, but I'm just like not gonna fight that hard.
Oh my God.
I mean, she's not totally off base here.
Oh my
It's
God.
Jonathan Frakes or Tom Hardy.
Jonathan
I'm not
Frakes.
speaking to the context of the movie at all, but I'm just saying, like in real life.
I have nothing to say.
Connor, don't worry. You're not the scapegoat anymore.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jocelyn.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Look, okay.
Come at me, 'cause that's
Think
a
of
really
it. Think of
problematic
it like
thing to
this.
say. But just objectively, Riker is as manhandly in bed as I thought he was going to be. He's just kind of, I don't know.
Look,
Finally
Riker
get a
is
Star
an
Trek
adorable
six.
teddy bear man, and Tom Hardy is this like slimy salamander disease. He's gonna give you a disease, but Riker
No,
is
okay,
clean.
Okay, if anybody's
Here's
carrying
what
a
I'll
disease, it's
say
Riker.
in my defense. All right. I was a woman in her early 20s in 2009 when Masterpiece Theater released Wuthering Heights with Tom Hardy as Heathcliff. And I've just got to say, it had a big effect on my life. And
we
can't
can tell.
like extricate it from my experience of watching Nemesis. So that is what that is. If you've never seen Wuthering Heights with Tom Hardy, you should go check that out. And you're welcome.
I didn't
And
know
that's all I
Wuthering
have to say.
Heights had a big orange cat in it, but I guess I have to check out his portrayal of Heathcliff.
Wait, now that raises more questions, doesn't it?
I don't know. Does it?
Oh yeah. I didn't. This Tom Hardy playing a hot cat. Is this like a precursor to the movie Cats? What kind of movie is this? You know, it's better if I don't know. I'm just a boy.
Great.
I'm gonna go cry now.
All right. Thank you. Jocelyn, was that it for your pros and neutral zones?
Yeah, I better just stop.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, are you going to join this controversial train, or are you going to let Jocelyn and Connor get canceled this week?
I didn't do anything wrong.
We're in a rare position here, you and me.
I didn't do anything wrong either. The heart wants what the heart wants.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not gonna touch that one. I will say that the opening scene, I think Chelsea brought this up in her pros. That was almost one of my top 3 pros, because that, like, the movie starts off in a pretty. I remember watching this for the first time I watched it, being like, "Oh, that's pretty crazy." I mean, the senator comes in, she leaves her necklace on the table, walks out, and it opens up. They're all like, "Ooh, look at this!" And they're like, "Oh wait, we dying? Get her back in here!" Like, late, you're dead. But that's very much like a Romulan thing. Like, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often, where they just murder each other. But that's a good way to start off the movie with a bang. I did like Picard's speech at the wedding, but I felt like the first half seemed kind of out of character for Picard, because he is just being a jerk to everyone, and he's in front of his crew, and he seems like he's very like open and bubbly and talk, which is not how Picard normally is around his crew. So that was kind of weird for me. But like the second half was very heartfelt, and like Jocelyn said, Deanna, just her emotion. And I thought that Marina Sirtis did a very good job in this film. She wasn't given a ton, but she was given more than Crusher was given, and definitely more than what Worf was given as well. So, and the other stuff she was given was not good. The ready room scene, I like that, just because we get a scene of the entire crew sitting down in the ready room, just like you would see on an episode of The Next Generation. And it's nice to have that whole crew, even if only half of them get to talk in that scene. It's still nice to see them all there. So I also thought that the space battle between the Enterprise E and the Scimitar looked great. All the effects except for one. There's one exception that I'll talk about in my cons that looks terrible, but everything else looked really good until I guess they ran out of money for that scene. But neutral zone wise, we had several cameos. Guinan was good, Janeway was great, and Wesley was perfect. Like I said, no talking. That was fantastic. His talking lines were cut from the film. There's actually quite a bit cut from this film that could have stayed in, that would have made it better. But we've got a lot of cons ahead of us. I liked and disliked Picard roasting everyone on his crew, because that does not seem like something Picard would do. Like, just publicly roast everyone. Like, he'll tell Wesley to shut up, but like, basically, Michael Scott style, he's Riker more like Mr. Troy. Worf, you can't wear clothes to the wedding. You shouldn't be afraid. You're a big man. And then Data, shut up. Like, he's just going around and roasting everyone. It's ridiculous. Very, very, very bizarre. Also extremely neutral zone. I should move this to the cons. when he said he's my viceroy, and the viceroy did not respond with, I was not aware. I was very disappointed. Because anytime I hear the word viceroy, I can't but help think about the prequels.
You will go to Romulus and kill Newt Gunray.
The Romulans also seemed kind of off. I don't know, like their hair was powdered and their outfits were not baggy enough or shiny enough, or I don't know, there's something that was just a little off with the Romulans in this film. And they were all clearly wearing wigs too. Maybe it's just that it's in HD and it doesn't look as good as it used to. That's pretty much it. I'll stop there. I have a lot of cons. That's most of what I can think about in this film. I would also add in neutral zones that Troy getting up to drive the ship after she crashed it in Generations, and Geordi's on the bridge, and he used to be the pilot of the Enterprise, and he's just sitting at a random console. Like, why does he not drive the ship? That would have been a nice callback. But anyways, I digress. Jeremy, any remaining pros?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, lay them on us. We must have missed a lot.
You guys missed so much.
They're just buried around this film like parts of B4's body. You just gotta find them.
Exactly, just gotta find them.
Every now and again, one will reach out and grab you.
Yep, it's tough because you try and say something positive and then pigmen shoot at you. My love for the Enterprise E certainly continues, and boy, does it look amazing in this film. It seemed like it got a lot more hero shots than previous movies, and I really enjoyed it. I think it looks great. It has cemented itself as my favorite starship now, which wasn't always the case. Kind of talked about that in Insurrection First Contact. This week, Chelsea got me that 10.5-inch Eagle Moss Enterprise E. I posted it on the council page, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful ship. And it looks great here. Never better. The poisoning of the Romulan Senate to start the film was creepy and effectively done. You know you're in for a ride. Whew. And it never lets up from there. I really enjoyed the final battle. So it really is kind of like, I really liked the first 20 minutes, and I really liked the last 20 minutes. So I enjoy the final battle against the Scimitar with the.
Too bad it's a 2-hour film.
That is definitely a problem, but we're still in process. With Enterprise E firing all of its weapon banks, joined by a couple Romulan warbirds, I love that. The Enterprise ramming into the Scimitar was really cool and set up a great space jump by Data. And yeah, like you said, Jordan, I enjoyed the first 20 minutes and the final 20 minutes. It's just the middle 1 hour 10 that sucked for me. Neutral zone wise, I like the new warbirds in this. It's neutral zone though because I like them, but I loved the old warbirds. So, but I guess the old warbirds have the same issue with Enterprise D. They're a little boxy because they're made for a 4x3 screen, but it's all good. And neutral zone Worf, they didn't explain Worf again, but I'm glad he's there. Poor Worf being nervous about going to a Beta Z wedding. The only thing more embarrassing than having a small penis in a nude wedding is having two small penises in a nude wedding.
What?
Wow.
Keep your diphtheria jokes to yourself. Good Lord.
This is the movie. This is the movie we're talking about. Worf
Nobody
is nervous.
said he had two small penises.
Oh,
That's you. You're saying
Wait,
that.
can he combine them into one big one like Voltron?
Yeah, they wrap around like snakes. In fact, someone did say that. There was a deleted scene on Beta Z, and the Viceroy was there. When the Viceroy saw naked Worf, he's like, "This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them."
It's going up the ventilation shaft. There's always a bigger fish.
All right. Well, I feel like I shouldn't be canceled for that, and that Joselyn and Connor are still on top of the list. Let's get into our top 3 cons. Chelsea, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Actually, let's take a commercial break. We got to wrap. We got to let's settle down for a second here. Let's take a commercial break. We'll settle, we'll shuffle, and then we'll
Not going to be able to get that energy back.
into our cons. My friends, if you have $1 or more you can live without, please consider becoming a Patreon member. Now, with over 50 episodes for you to listen to, it is a great time to join. For as low as $1 a month, You have access to every special we've ever done, covering a wide array of topics such as movies.
It's like a Subway sandwich. Looks good on the inside, but then you take a bite of that big, succulent, sweaty meat sandwich, and when you take that juicy, succulent bite,
Don't feel so good.
it don't taste so good.
I thought you liked it, Connor.
Subway?
No.
The movie.
Television.
Who voices Geralt in the games?
Doug something.
Okay.
I've never actually looked him up. I don't want to ruin the voice.
Sometimes it's better that
the face.
you don't. I've done that before, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
And if you're listening, don't do that with us either.
And our ongoing coverage of the groundbreaking series Babylon 5. The alien helping Walker in the moot eye actually has a moot eye. One of them doesn't work.
I forgot to mention him.
So if you want access to every bonus episode we've ever done, or just like to support us here at Star Trek Wars, please donate to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Star Trek Wars.
Yes, my entire family's being targeted, but we don't have time to save them right now because I'm on a date with Patreon.
All right, welcome back. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chelsea, but let's get into this week's... cons.
Okay. All right. So hands down, the biggest con is like I didn't care. I didn't care about anything in this movie. I didn't care about anybody.
It's a big con.
I was bored about 98% of the time, and they didn't give me a reason. They didn't give me a reason to care about the outcome of any of this. Like I've never cared less about a movie in my life, and we watched like 10 minutes of the new Cats remake, so that's saying something there.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Wasn't James Corden so funny?
10 whole minutes.
I don't know if he showed up yet.
I don't know. I think maybe it wasn't 10. Maybe we got through the opening title. I got nothing. Also, I thought the Remans were just like goth Romulans. So why do they look like actual space goblins?
Hey.
Lack of vitamin D.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for an answer on that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought that was rhetorical.
No.
Movie budget. Scary monsters.
Lack of proper skincare.
A director that has never watched an episode of Star Trek.
Oh.
Okay. Well, like the main space goblin was Ron Perlman, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, his eyes were crooked.
Well, that's...
I totally agree.
And that's a
not
deal
a Riemann trait.
breaker.
That's a Ron Perlman trait.
That is a freaking deal breaker.
Crooked Ron Perlman.
And then this has been touched on, Joselyn. Tom Hardy was really underused, like way, way underused. I like him as an actor. I don't think that he was the thirst trap that Jocelyn seems to think he was. I like Bane Tom Hardy. I don't like, wet spaghetti noodle arm Tom Hardy. That's not for me. But, to each their own.
Hey, enough
and you
warp
should
jokes.
get a girl. Like if that's what the heart wants what the heart wants. So that's all you.
It's all Heathcliff to me.
Which is so weird because Wuthering Heights is... Yeah, that's not Star Trek related. Never mind. Those are my...
If Tom Hardy is a thirst trap, we're all dying from dehydration.
Look.
Okay, that Tom Hardy is not a thirst
In this
trap.
film, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I have range, okay? I can go from classic literature to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Just like Tom Hardy.
I mean, I love literature, but that has nothing to do with the way Tom Hardy looks in this.
No. Tom Hardy Bane is a Niagara Falls of a thirst trap, but yeah, this isn't even a puddle, Holmes.
Yeah, he just looks weird. Like he's just a baby. It feels icky.
A little Bane bee.
Very young, and that is also problematic. Yes.
Those are my top three cons.
He's
I think that was
the B4 of Tom Hardy's.
He really is. Thank you, Chelsea. Leta, do you have top three cons?
They really had me in the first half. I really didn't even mind how Tom Hardy looks nothing like Picard. But once he started messing with Troy, it went south so quickly. one of my notes from nearing the end of the movie just says, "I'm so bored," spelt with 7 O's. So I was really reaching for it. I feel like, I don't know. I don't need to say anything else, but I will. Don't worry. They didn't have to do what they did to Troy. And I know this is going to be a reoccurring theme, but I hate that Picard wouldn't let her be relieved of duty. Picard in general seemed off in this movie. I mean, like, let her go sort out her head, dude. She's supposed to be on her honeymoon. It was unnecessary and insulting, and it served no real purpose other than Troy to have a mental link with the Viceroy and to give Tom Hardy bad boy status. Like, what? We needed to know that after seeing his shiny beetle suit. Like, we know he's gonna be the bad boy.
Yeah. He's bald. We know he's a villain.
Wearing essentially black, we know he's the villain.
He has scars on his face.
Yeah.
That's all I need to say. And also, killing off a main character is rude. And making me so disinterested in the film before Data dies feels like an added insult.
Very good.
Top 3.
Thank you, Leta. Very true. Connor, 3 cons from you.
Well, here's the deal, Jack. This is actually a quick fun fact before we get into this con, because they're related. Tom Hardy was actually supposed to be a character in the live-action G.I. Joe movie. He was originally drafted to play, of course, Molestro. Of course, before I talk about the assault scene,
What's his power, Connor?
Today's episode sponsored by Canada Dry.
Good time to bring up a sponsor, Connor. They'll appreciate it.
The last we ever have. So let's talk about that scene. I agree with Leta completely.
Assaulting those taste buds.
Tom Hardy's nickname is Canada Dry.
So I was aware of this scene because I remember watching it when I was younger, and I don't think I caught what it was. I just thought he was just being a big old weirdo, but I thought it was a really weird scene. So I remember that, and I'm like, wait a minute. Does Troy get assaulted in this movie? No, I must be misremembering it.
Wasn't it weird how I wouldn't let you cover your eyes?
Yeah, it's like a Clockwork Orange. You're just like prying my eyes open, you know? I was cured, all right. Anyway, so I was watching this movie in our living room at my house, and my Nana's going back and forth because she's doing, yard work. And I was terrified the whole time because, my Nana does love Star Trek, but like I didn't want her to see what was about to happen because I've already had a bad Trek record with kicking my family members out of the living room to watch like Sub Rosa. So I'm trying not to push my luck here. And my Nana walks in when he's like, Imzadi, I know you better than he ever could. And she's like,
we saw the scene, Connor.
She's like, Connor, what are you watching? And I'm like, go. I'll explain later. And I never did. But thank you, Tom Hardy, for ruining my day. It made it a bit harder to convince my Nana to let me take the car. I swear I'm up to nothing nefarious. But the scene itself was needless. So if you're going to talk about sexual assault or you have to treat it seriously. And the thing is, this was just used as a shocking plot device, and that's my problem with it. It's shock value. And it's not redeemed that she says, like, remember me or something like that when she is guiding Worf's hand and fires. Like, that doesn't, like, oh, yeah, now it's, like, revenge kind of stuff, and it's really gross. This does nothing to advance the plot. And the worst part is, afterwards, she's like, Captain, can I be relieved of duty? No. Like, why? She got mind fondled. Like, you let her take a nap or something? Like, good Lord. I don't know. Give her a mint. I'm not a therapist. All right. But what I'm trying to say is it was an unnecessary scene.
Glad to hear that.
So that was my first con. Let's talk about my other big cons. So this was a really weak final outing. Now we can say through hindsight that, like, you know, because in the future, Star Trek's back. We have all these, well, you know, if you're cool, great shows, and you like there's new shows on the horizon. Like, this is a really exciting time right now to be a Star Trek fan. But I'm trying to think of it as someone who, well, was technically born around the time. If from the perspective of a Trek fan, from that point, this is the final outing possibly for Star Trek. Well, I guess there's Enterprise, but that's not real Star Trek. But this is like the final movie outing, right? And the final outing of the Next Gen characters. And this movie is such a nothing. Like, I'm just watching this movie and I'm waiting for something to happen. It was actually, this might have been one of the hardest, like, just kind of not just to review, because I'm trying to think of like pros and cons, and I'm just like, what happened in this movie? I watched it this morning, by the way, and I'm trying to like go over like, what did I watch, you know? And it's such a nothing burger. It's a really weak final outing, and we don't get any kind of interesting goodbyes with the final characters or really anything. And then finally, I think the biggest problem is that clearly the writers they don't know what Star Trek fans want. Because looking at this script, it's like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if they're flying this fighter shuttle through the hallway? Oh my God, bro, wouldn't it be awesome if they were driving like a buggy around the desert? Oh, bro, that's a great idea. But hear me out. What if there was a bazooka on the back of it that Worf was like shooting, just like the last movie? Like, is that what the writing process was like? Because that's not what fans want. Star Trek fans are less interested in space bazookas and shooting and screaming and noise. They want introspective, deep science fiction that uses the science fiction as a modem to talk about real life issues, or at least be fun or interesting, introspective science fiction. This movie is none of those things. And Star Trek often likes to break its formula. That's one of the best parts about the franchise. One day it could be a Western. The next it could be a horror. That's what's great about Star Trek. You can basically tell any story, but you have to make it interesting. Nothing happens in this movie, and nobody does anything in it. It's a really sad final outing, and I felt nothing when the credits rolled. That is all.
Thank you, Connor.
This Canada trash sure is yummy.
It sure is. Gulp, gulp, gulp. Joselyn, top 3 cons.
Yeah, this has already been touched on, but like the Deanna thing is a big con, but also that she reports it to Picard, and he's like, no, you don't get any time off. She didn't get any time off for her honeymoon. Like, she's literally at work like the next day. I just don't understand, like, who is the head of Starfleet Human Resources? Rick Berman?
Capitalism, am I right?
Put it in my paper shredder. I mean, filing cabinet. Okay, Rick.
I'm like not cool with the entire scene in and of itself, like in any context, but I'm also like especially not cool that there was no point to it. Like, it was needless. It was absolutely needless. Like, I think what they were trying to do, if I'm like trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, was to bring some meaning to the Riker Viceroy like showdown at the end. But like, I don't think we needed that. You have Shinzan's right-hand man versus Picard's right-hand man in a battle to, I guess, just like see who is the hands down right handiest man. Like, that's enough. That's the motivation right there. You could have set up early on some kind of conflict between the two of them, and then that would have brought meaning to the showdown at the end. Also, never not mad that we didn't get a fully grown Picard Nemesis and a physical Picard v. Picard battle at the end. Like, that missed opportunity is like also a huge con for me. So that switcheroo didn't work for me. The B4 switcheroo on the other hand, that was good. And at the end, like having B4 around kind of softened the blow of Data's death, but the setup to this like almost ruined the whole thing. Because like logically, Shinzon sets a trap for Picard to pick up B4 by scattering parts of his body all over a planet, and then like instructs those guards to like almost kill him in like a very realistic way. Like, I don't understand. What was the plan here? Was there miscommunication or what? But like that didn't, like, forcing Picard to Thelma and Louise himself into the shuttle, I don't think was part of the plan. Too far. But my last top con, and the biggest one I have, is Shinzon himself. If I separate the character Shinzon from Tom Hardy, obviously. So just Shinzon, Praetor Shinzon, that character in and of himself is the biggest plot hole. If I'm a Romulan, like everything we know about Romulans, and I came into power after slaughtering like many of my fellow Romulans probably, and found out that there was a Picard clone just like roaming around, I'm gonna do one of two things. I'm either gonna kill him outright, or I'm gonna set up an elaborate training program to get the kid like absolutely pitch Picard perfect. And then at the same time, I'm going to flood his mind with all this Romulan propaganda and like really build him up to this like point where we the switch. And that just like didn't happen. Picard v. Picard, nature versus nurture, science versus like humanity. That would have been so cool and like worked on several levels. And they just, I don't know, they just like didn't see it. I don't understand why they didn't see that when they were first like sitting down to write out this script. So never not disappointed about that. Those are my top cons.
Very good. Thank you, Joselyn. Jordan, I know this is tougher than your top three pros. Top three cons. Or should we just say three cons?
More to pick from, Jeremy. My top con is Stuart Baird, who's the director of this film. Because this is his ship to direct his movie, and he's, oh my God, he's basically directed 3 films his entire life. This was the last, so that tells you anything. He was given this film to direct because of a favor of working on, I think it was Mission Impossible 2 and Tomb Raider. He did some editing work. He's done a lot of editing. Apparently he's good at editing. I don't know who edited this film because it probably wasn't him. It wasn't very well edited. And John Logan, who wrote this turd. Like, the two of them, neither of them had any experience with Star Trek before or knew anything about the characters. I think John Logan was a friend of Brent Spiner, and Brent Spiner has a story writing credit on this thing as well. This just reeks of a film of like, we need Brent to do this, so we've got to give him some, writing power. And Brent Spiner wanted Data killed, so like he has influence here. I'm sure Patrick Stewart has some influence to an extent, but probably not enough because we got this nonsense, and they allowed that scene to happen. So this is on them. I can only blame the two of them. And why not, when you have a capable director, Jonathan Frakes, who directed your last 2 films pretty well, just have him direct. He wasn't even asked to direct this film. And I guess originally LeVar Burton was supposed to direct this, but the studio said, no, you have to hire Stuart Baird for some reason. Like, I don't know who Stuart Baird is. I'm not even going to eat Mrs. Baird's bread because it might be his wife, and I don't want to support this guy financially in any way.
Just to be safe, yeah.
No.
Yes. Shinzon, and Tom Brady doesn't eat bread, so it's working for him.
Ugh.
Shinzon, I don't understand what his motivations are here. It goes from like he is cast out by the Romulans. He's raised by this viceroy for whatever reason, takes pity on him. He wins a bunch of battles and is like this general of the Remans, but he's really, really unstable. I have a hard time believing this. We don't get a whole lot other than like they try to make him feel like this character that you're going to sympathize with. And then, like, a couple scenes later, we get the rapiest Star Trek film of all the films. And, like, what are you supposed to... You can't cheer for this guy in any way. That scene is just horrible. It adds nothing to the film. And if that would have happened, and then you set the stakes between that terrible fight between Riker and I guess it was I didn't even could hardly tell that it even was the Viceroy because all the Remans looked pretty goblin-y and it's super darkly lit, so you can't tell if it's even him. They have no discussion. Does Riker even know that he was part of that? It is so weird, so convoluted and contrived. I can't even wrap my head around it. And Shinzon's motivations go from meeting Picard and I guess needing him so that he can grow up without dying to I'm going to go destroy Earth. Why are you going to destroy Earth? What did Earth ever do to you? What? It makes no sense. It's stupid. That's all I got, Jeremy. That was my top 3. But
at
wait,
least he doesn't live in a
there'll
bottle.
be more later.
That's true.
Or a lamp, I should say.
Oh, man. Good one. Oh, I did want to knock. Connor, you did mention this was a pro. When this movie came out, you were 39 days old.
Oh, that's sobering.
It's good for me because you're the reason why I didn't see this in the theater. So I never got a chance to thank you.
Oh, no. I was just doing my civic duty, sir.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I did not see this in the theater, even though I had seen Generations, First Contact, and Insurrection. Connor, my miracle child, kept me out of it. You just came at the right time. You knew.
It's a salvation.
Yeah. So thank you.
Of course.
And, nowadays, instead of having a different person play Picard, we could do a Renaissance man type thing and have Patrick Stewart play both, just like Will Smith just did. Is that what it's called, Renaissance man?
I think I know it's Replicator Man?
Gemini Man.
Gemini Man, yeah, that.
Gemini Man. Yeah, let's just Gemini Man this.
Gemini Man, huh? He is such a Gemini.
And I haven't even started my cons. Okay, so here's my top 3 cons. Now, I don't want to say this film was bad, but we had to pause it midway so Chelsea could throw up 4 times.
That's true.
And it's absolutely true.
Absolutely true.
She claims it was food poisoning, but we hadn't even eaten that day yet.
Yeah, that's also true. That's all true.
I think I ate some bad food last year. I'm not feeling too good. I actually have a doctor's appointment right now. I'm so sorry.
So, yeah, we actually had to pause for Chelsea to be sick. None taken. Second con, B4. Not only is it a chance for Spiner to over-Spiner it up with a mask-like performance, it's also a cop-out from the very real stakes of Data's pretty cool sacrifice, I thought. But they ruined it with all this B4 shadowing. They did one huge game changer, but left a place in a backup just in case of public outcry. And like the guy in my neighborhood that yells at birds, it's toothless. It's toothless, folks.
I'm going to tell Judy you said that.
Okay, great.
You just awkwardly grabbing his tie. Yeah. You're just pulling out all the stops, huh?
And my final con, it's just what a waste of talent. Now, I like Tom Picardi and pause for laughter. And Ron Perlman, they're just completely wasted. Riker's boss battle with the Reman just screams of, well, he's got to do something. And I agree, Riker should, but dropping Perlman down an endless abyss when they were already at the bottom of the ship just to wow us isn't the wow factor you think it is. I think Tom Hardy does a good job. It's just the writing. What are you going to do? It's just not that good.
Right. There's only so much they can do to salvage this.
Yeah.
It's like with Christopher Plummer with his Shakespeare lines. If he wasn't such a good actor, that might have come off as really hammy. Mm-hmm. So there are instances where the actors can save the dialogue. Yeah. But here, they're trying their damnedest, but it just does not work.
And maybe Tom Hardy did elevate it, and it's so bad that even elevated, it just sucks. It's hard to say. I think this is his first role, possibly, too. So he was fine in it.
No. He's done Black Hawk Down by now. And Band of Brothers, I think.
Okay. Well, then he should have been better.
Wait, when did this come out?
That I've seen everything.
He should have died in Normandy.
This is 2002.
I'm just casually aware of his entire filmography. It's not a big deal.
Casually.
Sure.
All right, let's get into any remaining cons we might have. Chelsea, we'll start with you.
I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, this in fact did make me physically ill. So that was a pretty big con.
Yeah, sure.
For me. This was mentioned also, but the story, like in theory, it was kind of cool, but the way it was executed, it did not do well. I also thought it was a little weird that when they were out driving the Argo, they were wearing safety glasses. Which is
Data's wearing safety glasses.
Yeah,
Data.
Like
his eyes are safety glasses.
I feel like
yes.
What are safety glasses gonna do when you flip that thing?
Protect your face.
It just
or get shot in the head.
It felt so weird because like
I think it's for like the bugs because there's no windshield.
Starfleet's like that like helicopter parent, so it was weird that they just like threw on like some shop glasses and were like good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, whatever. Worf complaining about Romulan ale. That irritated me because it's like he's only like a badass Klingon when it's convenient. I don't know.
Not on Next Gen.
Yeah. Also, why was he even here? Was it for the wedding? Because I don't know.
I mean, the guy does normally drink prune juice, so I mean,
he just seems like a whiner.
Yeah.
And I'm like a huge Worf fan, so I usually think like with a movie this bad, you should at least try to be funny, but there was none of that at all. None. That sucked. And then the female Romulan, why does she like immediately try to seduce him? Why can't she just show that she's a badass and she doesn't need to try to sleep with him?
Because this
like,
is written by
secure her
gross men.
place? Connor, be quiet. You don't have a
Berman
uterus.
probably was.
Yet?
Her name was Denatra, which was a really kind of a cool name.
Good for her.
Sorry, trying to find a pro.
You missed the pros, Jordan. You missed those.
Sorry. Yeah. Oops. I slept through them like most of this film.
I don't know. I think that's annoying. Like, it's just overdone.
Chelsea, I didn't even think about that, but you're right because I thought she was good, but they didn't give her anything. And the one time she had a scene with Tom Hardy, she was making advances on him instead of just being badass.
Yeah, sexual harassment is not okay in the workplace.
I mean, if Shinzon is like setting boundaries, that's a bad sign, you know.
Yeah, I know his name is. What's his name, Connor? Shitson?
Shitson.
He's just trying to get his shins off.
Oh, tough crowd. Wait till you hear his replicator jokes. What's the deal with replicator food?
I thought you said weplicator. It's like you had a speech impediment. I was like, what? This is new.
Are you Russian?
And then this has been touched on 1,000 times, but okay, so like for that sex scene, I've never seen this before. So I remember shouting at the TV like, no, I don't want to see them smush. and then it got worse. So like really be careful what you ask for, because then I'm like, oh my God, now she's just being like,
Yeah.
That was all.
So gross.
It was so bad.
The more awkward thing about that scene is that it zooms in on Shinzon and his viceroy is like holding his head and helping him do it. Yes, it's just like, oh, bro, no. That's like, what is the episode of Deep Space Nine where the writer's helping Jake write good?
Oh,
I had flashbacks
is it
to
the
that,
Muse?
and this is worse than that.
No one wants to see him consensually smush.
Yeah, well, actually, in retrospect, I would rather see them consensually smush than what the hell I had to see.
Right. Crusher, I hardly know her.
Nice.
Riker kind of looked like he was trying to wipe off mustard that got in his beard on her neck. He was like attacking her.
He probably was.
So romantic.
Very manhandly in bed.
He has a pretzel in one hand. He's kissing Troy. You know.
He's the guy that shows up like not showered with like a fresh shirt on. He's like, all right, I'm ready. So yeah, he probably was wiping mustard out of his beard.
Why is this a Riker bashing session?
All right, I'm done.
Did you come here for something in particular, or just general Riker bashing?
Thank you, Chelsea.
Going swimming.
That rubbing of the mustard off, that's the Riker maneuver.
Oh, right. Leta, remaining cons.
Sorry. Riker really messed me up. um, yes, people have said it before, but this guy's motives are confusing, and I get that he is a genetic clone of Picard, but I don't understand Picard's soft spot for him. It falls right in line with, this is not Picard. Like, yeah, he's playing him, but it was just not very well written. And also, in the scene where Picard kills, I can never remember this guy's name, so Tom Hardy. In that scene where he kills him, in the time that it took Picard to rip a metal pole off the wall that is strong enough to impale, Hardy Boy didn't even have time to react. He just keeps on charging. He's like, "What are you doing? I'm just gonna keep on going." That was dumb. Mm-hmm. They really do be giving people the lamest deaths sometimes on Star Trek, and it makes me mad. Also, I hate the font for this movie so much. It's so ugly. It looks like they're trying to do like The Matrix. Like, it's been done. It's so ugly. It's like a backwards R, and like didn't look like Star Trek. So I guess it fits with the rest of the film. And that's it.
Nice. I would like just to take pro lettering on this. If you look at it, and this is the kind of thought they put in it, the R's in Star and Trek, the R's are reversed because the two R's are mirrors of each other, because that's the two letters. And if you look at Nemesis, same with the two E's. So I don't think we're giving these guys enough credit.
This sounds like
it's like we're looking in a mirror, Jeremy. It's like an echo.
This is like
like
I
a
can
lot of
imagine
words
someone
that mean
making
nothing.
a video essay where it's like, what, Star Trek Nemesis, the underrated best Star Trek movie, #1, even the title screen is a genius work of art. You see the R's are flipped around, showing that they mirror each other in symmetry. This is the correlation between Shinzon and Picard, and the fun doesn't stop there.
I do have a fun fact. The two R's represent Baird and Logan, because they're the two dumb R's that wrote this movie.
Dumb R's. Very good.
Dumber and Dumber.
Leta, did you have any remaining cons?
Nope, that's it.
All right.
Jeremy, I had one other fun fact that Leta stumbled upon. She said Hardy Boys. So Shinzon was actually supposed to have a brother in this film. They were the Hardy Boys, Shinzon and his much shorter brother Shinzoff. But you kind of stole my thunder on that one. But
He's just Dorfit, where he just got shoes at his kneecaps.
Yep.
He just wears platforms.
Like Hank Hill's dad.
Just wears lifts.
Very good. Connor, any remaining cons from you?
I actually have quite a few, believe it or not.
I believe you.
All right. So let's talk about Troy, Geordi, Crusher, and Worf, who have nothing to do in this movie except get raped, upload data, say 2 lines, and get drunk. That's cool, I guess. Yeah, they literally do nothing. I think Crusher has 3 lines in this movie, maybe 4, 5 max, but she is barely in this film. Worf just kind of complains in one scene about, Romulan ale should be illegal, and that's like funny. It's a funny joke. It is Worf. Number one, why is it at a Federation, is a big kind of event? There's probably going to be some public interest in this, because these people
knows it's illegal. He probably should have said Romulan ale is without honor.
Yeah, something just the joke is it got a chuckle out of me, but it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Crusher doesn't do anything. Geordi just kind of pals around saying, "Yeah, I'll upload that, Commander. All right, cool." There's the goodbye between Data and Geordi is just kind of a nod, and that's fine. But I was hoping for a little bit of something
that should
before
have been
the
a
nod.
moment.
That should have been the final moment, but there should have been something before that when they're about to go, because that was a really cool scene when Data, goes to the other ship.
Like Geordi knew at that point what he was going to do,
Right, and should have said something. And then Data should have said something like witty and memorable. I don't know. I'm not a writer. Think of something witty and memorable. But you get what I mean. It's lacking something. And then, of course, we have the car chase. This is what Star Trek fans want. Mindless, dumb spectacle. So they find the pieces of before, very clever, and they put them in the dustbin. And then the pigmen guards from Jabba's palace start attacking in their buggies. Who are these people? Why have they shown up? How did they know they were there? Was it and maybe they could have said, Picard has unfortunately not been, killed by the minion trap that we set or something like that. They could have had that tie-in, but no, they're just there for a car chase. Also, didn't they say this is a pre-warp civilization, right? So they have left their spaceship in the open and are palling around in a doom buggy and are now being attacked by these primitives, or primitive to the Federation at least. You don't think that this is going to change their culture, knowing that there are foreign invaders from the stars with powerful technology and explosives who can invade them at any point? That would most certainly change a post-industrial society that hasn't gone to space yet. This is highly irresponsible. And Riker, being the responsible one for once, is, tries to talk to Jean-Luc about protocols on this matter. And Jean-Luc's like, I want to go fly the buggy. Dude, this is incredibly irresponsible for a Starfleet captain. I understand retrieving these parts, but you got to be a little bit more subtle about it.
And Connor, no one, when you said no one wanted to have our heroes riding around on an ATV machine, the one person that did was Patrick Stewart, because that was his idea. Brent Spiner wanted Data to die. Patrick Stewart loves driving dune buggies, so that was his input.
Okay. I mean, it's fine. It's certainly not the biggest problem with the movie, but it's just like so many scenes, it just feels needless.
It's dumb.
It could have been cut. Here's another thing. The pacing. Holy crap. This movie at times is going way too fast, where you want them to explain something or deal with something more or learn more about something, but then they just keep going and going and going and going. But other times it just slows to a crawl and you do not care. A great example for this, in my opinion, is Shinzon's rise to power, which happens seemingly in a day or two. Like, he kills all of these Romulan senators, all these powerful, connected, wealthy people. He just murders all of them, just vaporizes them, right? And then nothing. When Julius Caesar destroyed the Roman Republic, he got murdered, okay, because he overturned the status quo too much. So Shinzon has killed all these powerful people who are no doubt part of wealthy, influential, dynastic families with no consequence. There's no social unrest. Him being the dictator, I got it. Dictators rise to power through violence most of the time, or through corrupting legal institutions. But Shinzon has just murdered everybody, and that's it. And most people are kind of cool with it because, yeah, you want to fight the Federation. Why do we want to fight the Federation who we just fought with in the Dominion War? I understand not liking the Federation, that faction, but open conflict with the most militarized the Federation has ever been, it's really, if you start to think about this movie past the surface level, you scratch it and you realize that, like, why do any of you want to do this? Shinzon's plan, why not just wipe out Romulus itself? If that's what your problem is, why not turn that beam on Romulus? You could like, oh, well, it's his humanity that he's grappling with, and his humanity is weakness. The Romulans are the ones who torture him. The Romulans are the one who've enslaved the Remans. The Romulans are the ones who discarded him as nothing, but he doesn't like his gross pink flesh.
Yeah,
so
if he wanted Romulus destroyed, he wouldn't have to do it himself. Just wait 5 years.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I just don't understand why blow up Earth. Why attack the Federation? They have nothing to do with this. It's like, oh, and then he kind of vaguely explains this in the movie where he's like, well, regular Picard is still around. I am but a mere shadow. And it's like, okay, but it's not Picard's fault that you were created. That was the Romulans. Again, I just think it's a really weak motivation. So finishing up, I wanted to like this movie, and like all these weak next gen movies, there's something here. There's something interesting that you can salvage from this. But the problem is that these movies in general, is kind of my final rant about the next gen movies. These movies are way more interested in spectacle and action rather than developing character. And that was what was so great about the original series movies. These characters got to live again, but they also grew. They advanced. They had arcs. And they got to do things. But with these movies, it's all about Picard and Data and no one else. Barely anyone else gets any spotlight in these movies. Like I would just prefer a movie where the characters just talk for 2 hours. That would be great.
Should watch Insurrection.
Okay, not like that. I mean, there has to be a good plot behind it, but I wanted this to be good. But it's such a disappointing final outing. It goes out with a whimper for another, 19 years? That's it.
Yeah, we don't go forward again from that because then you get Enterprise, which is a prequel. You get the Abrams Kelvinverse, which is a prequel.
Yeah, and not in the central timeline.
Yeah, and then we finally come back to television in 2017 with Discovery, which is a prequel. Like, no one wants to touch this again.
Except for the animated comedy show, which actually does it quite well.
Yes. And Picard to...
Oh, right. Yeah, there's that.
Certain extents. Thank you, Connor.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was really long, but this movie really
that's
sucked.
what the con section of this movie is all about. We're all going to go long. Joselyn, remaining cons.
I know you all like the look of the Enterprise E.
That's right. But we're talking about
we'll
cons.
Stop you right there. This is cons.
Moving on. Look, what I will say is the bridge, like inside the Enterprise E, the bridge, it feels cramped to me compared to like how spacious the original bridge is. And Picard's office is like really drab. And I just feel like he had more flair than that usually. So disappointed there. However, structurally, the Enterprise E is light years ahead of Shinzon's ship. I feel like, buyer beware. This is why you don't get your warships from IKEA, because it's all style and just falls apart eventually. So also... in closing, because it's the end of my cons, a word to the makeup department of this film. You need to carry the green Romulan foundation all the way down the neck, or it just kind of ruins the illusion.
Yeah,
okay?
It looks like they have gangrene.
Blend. Take it all the way down. Also, the half wig, half bump it hybrid that you slapped on Deanna Troi, hideous. I could see that seam from space. Okay? Awful. Also, and lastly, Beverly Crusher's hair. What, and why? And really? Okay.
And how?
The end. Those are my remaining cons.
Very good. Thank you, Jocelyn. And Win, because I don't remember Beverly Crusher in this film.
Oh, exactly. Beverly was in this movie?
I think she said,
probably
like,
doing
upon
favorites.
further review, Shinzon is a clone of yours, but he's not.
Oh, right.
And that was literally like her one and only scene.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, I know you've been chomping at the bit for this moment. It is with your remaining
I'm
comments.
chomping. Man, that whole Argo sequence feels like something out of a Fast and Furious franchise film, not Star Trek. And it served no point and no purpose. And if you're going to do B4 in this film, don't put them together right away and have him talking. Like, take the body parts, put him on the ship, say, oh, he won't work unless he has a positronic brain because he's an old stupid model. And then after Data blows up in the debris, you find Data's brain. You're like, oh, maybe there's a way we can fix this and put it in B4, and then Data can be back maybe in the future. Don't bring him back right away before Data's even dead, because and then name him B4. My God, how stupid. Why? This actually just leads into the same thing. Why kill Data and introduce a character that is almost the exact copy of Data? Data wearing glasses, already mentioned that. Chelsea caught on to that one. I know that Picard did not just tell Troy that he needed her to withstand further violations. Not only does he say no, he says, I need you to withstand further violations. That's not the Picard from the Next Generation. I'm sorry. That is horrendous. That might be the worst line that Patrick Stewart's ever uttered. And he played poop in the Emoji Movie.
Did you know what he said about that character when he was asked by an interviewer, "Why did you take that role?" He literally said it was the role he was born to play.
Wait, you guys aren't joking? He played poop?
And in the Emoji Movie,
yes,
he voiced, yeah.
James Corden was also in that movie because everything he does is press the bleep button.
Oh.
Everything James Corden does is Shenzon.
He's the real poop emoji.
Yeah.
Literally all of B4's dialogue, like, he's more auto-tuned than T-Pain for some reason in this film. And everything he says annoys me. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
Shinzon did not need to be a Picard clone. If you're going to go the Shinzon route, if you're going to make a Picard clone and not make it look like Picard, then why are you making a Picard clone? That's not a clone. And no one recognizes him. Like, if he's a Picard clone, he's a shitty one because no one's like, hey, that looks like a young Patrick Stewart, or that looks like a young Captain Picard. Like, no one recognizes him. So stupid. Patrick Stewart doesn't age. How could you not recognize young Patrick Stewart? It's the same as old Patrick Stewart. Like, what? Stupid. I could hear the creaking of Shinzon's tight leather suit every time he moved in this film. It's so annoying. I mean, it looks beautiful, but don't have him move if he's wearing that. Just squeaking left and right. He's not sneaking up on anybody. Shinzon is so creepy. I think I kind of touched on some of this, but I'm just going to keep going. He tells us his backstory about being cast away to die in a Riemann mine, rescued by an old Riemann who took pity on him and now helps him assault women. What?
Well, he pities him a lot.
Why are we?
He's a wingman.
Who thought of this character?
Good mentor.
Yeah. Tom Hardy, the least imposing villain. He has a strange accent choice. I don't know what his accent is, but it's not even close to Picard's weird accent because he's a French-British guy, a French guy with a British accent. It's so bad. And he's like 140 pounds soaking wet. Like, it's not imposing whatsoever. We don't see him do anything that's like, oh man, this guy's scary, other than just be a weird creep. This script thinks it's smart. It's talking about echoes and voices and mirrors, but it's not saying anything. The Riemanns just look like B-movie villains or like a fan fiction Star Trek film with bad prosthetics. And then I teased earlier the part in the film where you can see where they ran out of money, and it's that freaking shot of the shuttle flying through the scimitar that is just Babylon
like
5 graphics crossed with a $60 million budget of a Star Trek film in 2002 where it's flying around the corridors, and it's not like a quick shot. It's like, hey, let's do this for 5 minutes. Like, oh my God, we need another chase scene. And I don't know if it's because I listened to this movie. I watched it at night. I wanted to listen to it loudly, so I had my headphones on, and they're pretty nice, like Sennheiser headphones. But I could hear constant background music the entire film almost. But I don't remember the soundtrack at all. Like, there's music going on constantly, but there's nothing memorable other than, like, the opening credits, which I believe has been used before. And so there's really nothing to this. And Joselyn, maybe I shouldn't have been so hard on you, because I loved Enterprise E2, but I do not like how far apart the chairs are with Riker, Troy, and Picard. Picard's like up on this pedestal, and they're like awkwardly, like socially distanced from him, and then they've got their computer terminals that are big and bulky and obtrusive. It's just, I don't know.
Cramped and too spaced out.
Too spacious and cramped at the same time.
How they're doing it.
Yeah, I agree. The whole scene between Riker and the Reman, I wrote down the Reman, I guess the Viceroy, after exchanging numerous glances, which was very weird because I didn't know Riker even knew who he was. Then he chases him down a Jeffries tube slide. Just word to anyone who's in a chase ever, go through the first door, close it, and then wait, because they're going to bust through the door and then you just shoot him and kill him. Like, it's so easy. Wait for Riker to come down the slide and then kill him. Why go down the slide, climb up a set of stairs, hide in the rafters, and then jump down behind him?
Cardio.
What plan is that?
Get your steps in.
And then, like, exactly. And then the contrivances of, like, the phaser gets knocked out of Riker's hand and then slides and then falls down a hole. And then they fall off something and land on a bridge that's 2 feet wide. Oh, my God, it's so bad.
There's no human resources on the Enterprise. There's also no, like, OSHA or, like, worker protections because
this reminds me
railings or anything.
Galaxy Quest, like that scene where they got the chompers. Like, why would anyone design a ship like this? Like, this whole scene is that scene, just in a serious kind of movie. Shinzon developed a weapon that takes 7 minutes to fire. Like, what? I don't know. Maybe start it up before you get into the battle, Shinzon, when your cloak is working. Like, oh my God, what? Shinzon should know that Picard would gladly trade his life for the lives of his crew. So why is Shinzon trying to kill his entire crew without saying, hey, Picard, I won't kill your entire crew if you come over here? Because he needs Picard to live. So now he's just killing them and then he's going to die? And his whole rise to power is just like nothing?
Mm-hmm. It's because his mind is dark and twisted.
Following him? He's like one of the worst written villains I've ever seen in my entire life.
Ugliest too.
Very true.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow, guys. Okay. Now's not the time, Jeremy.
Sorry.
And did the transporter... I know the transporter on the E didn't work anymore, because as soon as Picard beams over, the console explodes and Troy's like, well, that's it. Transporter doesn't work anymore, as he winks into the camera. So we know, because we're idiots. The scimitar, the transporter still works, and you don't need two transporters, you just need one. So they could have just beamed off the scimitar onto the bridge of the Enterprise. But instead, Data's got this thing in his arm that's like, hey, this only works for one person. Oh, well, and then Picard's like, we won't use that now Data, and then they save it for later because they foreshadow everything in this film because we're so stupid that we couldn't possibly. Oh, my God. That's mostly the cons. I could probably think of more if you gave me more time. But, Jeremy, I want to save some for you. So lay it on us.
I don't know if there's any fresh ones left, so I'll be super brief. But, yeah, speaking of that and just like the contempt that the writer and director has for Star Trek fans, Picard was not bald in the Academy. But they think so little of us that we would just be too stupid to understand if he's looking at a picture of Tom Hardy with hair. Who is that guy? It can't be Picard. He's got hair on his head.
He was born bald.
Right. Like, it's so dumb. Like,
yeah.
Like you've said, we've seen in previous Star Trek, in Tapestry, but young Picard has a full head of hair. Picard on the Stargazer has some hair. But nope, we're just so dumb. We're too dumb. I hate these guys. I hate Stuart Baird. This guy, you alluded to it, has never watched Trek, didn't care to watch Trek, doesn't know anything about Trek, thought LeVar Burton was an alien in this movie.
What? Because he's blind?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's understandable.
Yeah, he didn't know. He doesn't know any of the characters.
Oh my God.
LeVar Burton had prosthetics in his eyes, so he just thought he was an alien. He doesn't know, didn't care to learn. Just horrible directing, horrible script. Yeah, Shinzon, you're right. He shouldn't be Patrick Stewart because he looks like Tom Hardy, not Patrick Stewart. And it's not like he sounds like Patrick Stewart. Like, what was his audition tape? Like,
Make it so.
like, oh, that's dead on. Like,
no one cared who I was till I shaved my head.
Like, that does not sound like Patrick Stewart. So he doesn't look like him, doesn't sound like him. Just scrap it. Make the main villain a Riemann. Like,
or Patrick Stewart.
Or Patrick Stewart.
Or Patrick Stewart. Like, I mean,
That
Jeremy,
would've
I think,
been
honestly, all of us could sit down in 5 minutes and we could write a better script than this turd. Like,
Absolutely,
no doubt in
right.
my mind. You literally just have Patrick Stewart play evil Patrick Stewart. And the Romulans, who are known for subterfuge, lure the Enterprise there under false pretenses. Are like, hey, we'd like to talk peace. And then they kidnap Picard and replace him with evil Picard right after the wedding ceremony. That way, that's a genuine moment. And then he's on the ship and he has all the command codes because they're torturing Picard. And he's giving them some information that they've gotten out of him because Shinzon uses what's-his-name to put his head on him and violate Patrick Stewart's mind and take all this crap. And then you place him on the Enterprise. And, like, it's not hard.
And instead of having before, you have lore.
Get together and they're like, Captain Picard is acting strangely. What's going on? I don't know. He said this to you. Oh yeah, he was really mean to me. And then they figure it out, and then they have to like,
like that season 2 episode where Patrick Picard is replaced, and then he's like singing in
Allegiance.
the in 10-4, and the crew's like, he's acting kind of weird. Like, do that, just not as obvious.
Yes.
Just how cool would Shinzon's reveal be going down the stairs if it was Patrick Stewart walking down the stairs
Oh my
before
God.
like usurping it? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
Right. Because before doesn't really do anything in this movie. You could have had lore, and they're piecing this android together. Like, what is this thing?
Yeah, 'cause we
and then
don't-
they put it, and he's acting dumb at first, and he's being annoying, but it's all part of his game.
yeah, maybe lore is working with evil Patrick Stewart. Then you have both evil versions of the only two characters you
They
care about
replace
in these movies.
Data with lore.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys should
Riker
And
with
then
Thomas.
Teal is there. We get all the evil twins.
Thomas Riker, lore, Shinzon Picard.
Yeah. The triumvirate of evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how many
ruin my
car
next
chases
time
could
on.
you have in that?
Sorry. Jordan, I will cut all that out. Now, you guys are right. The Enterprise E, my favorite ship, but that I'm only speaking about the exterior. I could care less about the interior of the Enterprise E. It doesn't grab me at all. Like it doesn't matter. I love the exterior. The bridge just seems like a generic bridge. And there's nothing on the interior of the Enterprise E that I love except for the fun lower decks of that ship that are just baffling. Where if you go to the deck 24 of a 24 deck ship, you can drop Ron Perlman into the abyss of 400 more decks. Like, it makes no sense. Yeah, the rails, like, they really don't care about their lower deckers
There's
on
this
the E.
undership, which is just this labyrinth meant to like weed out the weak.
Right? Just a magical abyss place at the bottom. It's not
Probably a scimitar living down there.
right. That's it. Deanna's assault. No, we don't need to say any more about that. You guys covered that. The varying effects. And that's what we thought about this episode. Let's
Wait, I have some questions.
Oh, yes. Questions.
I feel like that kid that didn't do their homework. Like, I read like the Spark Notes, even though I swear to God I watched this movie. I don't remember 90% of the
No,
shit
you're
y'all are
fine.
talking about.
I watched this movie this morning and I remember nothing.
It
You're
made you.
okay.
It made you ill, Chelsea.
It
we understand.
did.
Spark Notes is the best way to watch this movie.
Yeah, well, I don't remember any of the, I don't know, an abyss. I guess that happened. Oops. So it was Data that got blown up, right? Not before?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because, like, Picard, like, solidified that, right? Okay.
Yes.
Indeed.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, because I said that earlier, and then it sounded like some people were maybe implying that was actually B4, and I was like, oh man, now I feel stupid.
Nope. You're right on about that. That was Data all the way.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all I care to ask.
I have a question.
How come Kurtzman ruined Trek?
All right. Any further questions before? All right. Let's get into what you guys thought about at home. Senior council member Wayne Fraser says, I love the idea of a story about the Romulans, and adding the Remans is an interesting, somewhat successful addition. But everything else about this movie is rubbish. Tom Hardy is a great actor, but he's not a young Picard. A young Picard who had hair, by the way. They truly must believe the audience are idiots. And the addition of before is just, I don't know. Those old scientists got to leave on an absolute high of the undiscovered country, and this is how Picard and crew bow out. I rate this even lower than Into Darkness.
Whoa.
Will Flores says, man, I really wanted to watch this with fresh eyes, but I fell asleep. I was very aware from the beginning that I was watching an early 2000s sci-fi movie, and I just couldn't get over it. Throw in the dumb, let's mind rape Troy again on top of the ridiculous Reman costumes. I just got bored. Tom Hardy as an actor against Patrick Stewart was actually decent, but I just couldn't get through the shoulder pads for tiny transporters. And to finish it off, we actually have an incoming transmission from one of our newest Star Trek War Council members, Ken Holzhauser. And we have a transmission from him, Star Trek War's own Star Trek Wars correspondent, Ken Holzhauser.
Good evening. Newly minted council member Ken Holzhauser here to talk about Star Trek Nemesis, coming in as the barn doors are closing with the final of the Next Generation movies. And what an incredibly poor way to go out for the crew of the Starship Enterprise. Stuart Baird is probably the first major problem with it, as this is a director who admitted freely that he did not watch or enjoy Star Trek. Now, I'm not saying that an outsider's perspective doesn't help. You only need to look at, say, The Wrath of Khan to understand. But there's a disconnected feeling of contempt for how Star Trek works that permeates the film. There are great action sequences, sure, but there are also a lot of moments where characters act woefully out of character, and it's a little insulting for the fans. We could talk about the Troy part of the story, which is ugly beyond the telling of it. Or we could say that the coup on Romulus is a perfect way to start off a story, if only they had a story to tell. But really, the two biggest problems with the Next Generation series of movies are both kind of touched on in Star Trek Nemesis. Firstly, the wedding of Riker and Troy is absolutely perfect. Thank you for bringing it to us. It's great for fans. It's good for the story. But it highlights the fact that you haven't done anything like this for the entire series of movies. The Star Trek original cast movies, at least from Wrath of Khan on, have made the passing of time a part of the storytelling. Characters move on. Characters grow old. Characters find a new life, and then are all brought together like a family reunion for the audience. And that's exactly how it should have been here. If, say, Insurrection had begun with this diplomatic mission, then Troy and Riker could be there from their ship, Geordi from his, Data from whatever he's doing. You could acknowledge that Worf is here representing Deep Space Nine. It wouldn't be wrong for them all to be together, and then they can all say, for old time's sake, let's go off and have an adventure. And the same thing here. Going from the wedding immediately off into some adventure wouldn't have seemed strange, but it would at least acknowledge to the audience that time is passing for these characters, that they all are separate people with motivations other than to continue to do the same job they've been doing for the last 15 years. The other problem, of course, is typified by B4 and Shinzon. Two characters that are honestly a bit pointless. And they're there because the Next Generation movies have to cater to Captain Picard and Data. Understandably, they're the popular characters. They are the Kirk and Spock of this particular dynamic. The problem with that is that for the original series, Kirk and Spock, and to a lesser extent Bones, were the only fleshed out characters on the show. Hate to say it, but the movies are the ones that provided Sulu, Uhura, Scotty, etc. with at least a little bit more meat on their character bones. Next Generation was built as an ensemble, and you could very easily give everybody something good to do. They did it in First Contact. You could do it for the other movies too, if you wanted. But instead, we have to create this odd character of Shinzon so that it has a personal connection to Patrick Stewart's Captain Picard, instead of just the fact that whoever the newest enemy of the Federation is would be somebody that Picard would be in opposition to. It didn't necessarily have to be personal. B4 is a terrible idea that really doesn't pay off, because it's just there to offer you some hijinks to let you kill the character of Brent Spiner's Data, but still keep a spare on hand. It's kind of insulting. That is definitely storytelling without the courage of its convictions, and it's not a fitting way to finish off the series. What other things could I complain about? I am rambling, I know, but one more thing certainly is that the plot itself is meandering. There's some good action sequences towards the end, but Starfleet's Jeep Grand Cherokee expedition at the beginning is dumb in every way. Doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek, and it's just weird. Or the fact that apparently the plan was to kidnap Picard. So Diet Bane had 16 opportunities to kidnap Picard before finally kidnapping him. And then finally, when he is kidnapped, Picard says, all of this is to capture me. At which point Shinzon degrades him with, such vanity. No, that's true. It's not vain. It's much like the Carly Simon song. We can say the guy's vain, but the song really is about him. He's not vain, he's perceptive. So it's a sad thing. It's a sad ending to the series where it's put in the hands of somebody who didn't really care, with some monumentally gutless storytelling, and squandered an opportunity to really offer the audience a high point to leave. Star Trek Nemesis ends the film series of The Next Generation with a damp 4, and that is adjusted for the fact that I've softened to it over the years, if you can believe it. Roll on Kelvin universe, everybody. This is Hailing Frequencies Closed for Ken Holzhauser.
That was amazing.
Thank you, Ken.
Fantastic.
Thank you for joining the council. And with that lovely,
Diet
buttery
Bane.
reporter voice.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, don't be so vain, says the guy that's literally covered in them by the end of the movie.
Ken bringing down the Holtz house.
Absolutely. You guys want to review this sucker? Let's go ahead
sure,
and
why
review
not?
Nemesis before we hit
I feel like we already did.
the 2-hour mark. All right, Chelsea, we'll start with you. What's your score for Nemesis?
I'm giving this 2 space goblin eyes that don't quite seem to line up.
He was great in Sons of Anarchy. Very good. Thank you, Chelsea. All right, Leta, what do you give it?
I gave this 4 severed limbs.
4 severed limbs. Very good. Connor.
Yeah, well, I guess in the spirit of Sons of Anarchy, I'm going to come join the murder and also give this episode, this movie, a 4. A 4 ending with a whimper.
Oh.
Come join the murder.
Thank you.
Come fly with the black.
Jocelyn.
I guess I'm going a little high here, and I gave it a 6.
Okay.
That's 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 torso.
Can't lose.
And 1 head, and I'm not talking about B4.
Oh, I thought you were making a Super Mario Brothers movie reference.
Yeah, giving it a 6. You definitely are too high.
That was awesome.
Jordan.
I thought she was going to give it a Worf and give it 2 arms, 2 legs, and 2. I'm going to give it a 4. 4 conjunctions.
Conjunction, junction, what's your function? Logging
I'm sorry,
out words
conjugation
and phrases
is
and
what I
clauses.
Conjugation, of course. All right,
Just
well,
wanted to hear Connor say.
I'm going to give this one a B5, which means this movie is as good as Babylon 5. And
no.
Yes, wait, hold on. Jordan, you badmouthed Babylon 5 earlier.
And it makes it one better than B4.
That's true.
And we have that on recording, so that's going to live forever.
And for me, I am the rebooting Babylon 5.
They absolutely are for the
Stop it.
CW.
Are you serious?
Yes, sir.
Oh, no.
They are?
Yeah.
They are.
So finally, we could see like the Flash, Supergirl, and Garibaldi
No,
during Sweep
CW
Sweep.
has other shows, and it's JMS.
There's
That's
no
right.
way.
Yeah,
There's
did
no
it.
way
So
Garibaldi
who's gonna do
survived
that?
the Me Too movement. There's
No,
no way.
no.
There's no way.
I will.
Yeah, we're definitely reviewing that for sure.
Yes.
Oh, the score from the Star Trek Wars Council, they give Nemesis a 5.35.
Well,
we're entering the 2-hour mark. Jordan, do you have any fun facts?
Hey, I do. Guess what? 6 pages worth. Sir Patrick Stewart was paid nearly as much for this film as he made the entire run of The Next Generation. And I did some research. I believe he made roughly $13 million for this film.
Oh, wow.
So
that's how much you'd have to pay me to see
the farewell
it
scene in Captain Picard's ready room near the ending had to be reshot after Sir Patrick Stewart unintentionally started crying. Fortunately, he was able to wipe his tears away using stacks of $100 bills. Brent Spiner has claimed he wanted Data to die at the end because he had visibly aged out of the role of an ageless android. However, following the release of Star Trek 2009, Spiner revealed that had there been another movie starring the cast of The Next Generation, Data would have been brought back. So, yeah, he was aging out of the role, but B4 looked way younger. What? The cast, in particular, Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, LeVar Burton, have leveled fierce criticism against Stuart Baird over his direction of this film, or lack of thereof, claiming he hated the Star Trek universe and knew nothing about it. Frakes even called the film a huge disappointment. For his part, Baird expressed his frustration in the Blu-ray commentary at having to tell a story in an established universe with pre-existing designs and character relationships. Hated having to utilize recycled sets and props and had trouble remembering the names of the main cast.
Okay, so why did he take the job?
What did he think? What did he think he was signing up for?
Money, I guess.
Oh, true.
In an interview given years after this film came out, Tom Hardy said that he took the role very seriously as it was intended to be his big break. The commercial failure of the film and the response from longtime fans apparently led to his relationship dissolving, his turning to alcohol, and considering suicide. So it sounds a lot
Oh
like
my God.
people who watched this film. It was only when he pulled himself together and starred in Bronson in 2008 that he got over this film.
Yeah, that's what beefed him up.
The alcohol?
Bronson.
Suicide.
Originally, there was to be a follow-up to this film, which would have seen the Enterprise crew crossing over with characters from Deep Space Nine and Voyager, as well as featuring Riker's ship, the USS Titan, and its crew members. But that was just too good of an idea. Those plans were scrapped due to the film's poor box office reception. Midway during shooting, the captain's chair from the bridge set disappeared, apparently stolen. While the film crew scrambled to find a way to work around the problem, the Enterprise 2000 cast and crew shooting on the soundstage next door decided to have a little fun at the franchise at mate's expense. Scott Bakula visited Patrick Stewart's trailer to present him with a makeshift wooden replacement chair with the letters Captain, Kaptin, painted on it. So,
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Aw, that's the most likable that character's ever been.
No, Jocelyn, you've still never watched Enterprise, right?
And I never will.
Patreon exclusive, Jocelyn watches Broken Bow.
Oh, yes.
After Data's demise on the Scimitar, Captain Picard and the Enterprise crew make a toast to Data by quoting to absent friends. This is the second time the Star Trek movie franchise when the Enterprise crew toasts to deceased crew member. The first time was in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, when Admiral Kirk and the original crew honor Spock by toasting to absent friends after Spock died from radiation poisoning. And a little more impactful in that film because they didn't have a clone of Spock on the bridge as he died. This is the only Star Trek film not to finish #1 at the box office on its opening weekend, if you can believe it. It was generally believed that Jerry Ryan, who played 7 of 9 in Star Trek Voyager, was offered a cameo in the earliest draft of the movie script, but was unable to commit when she got a role on Boston Public. The cameo was supposedly given to Kate Mulgrew instead. However, during a 2014 Star Trek convention, Ryan admitted that the studio had offered her a much larger role, which would have replaced the unspecified character in the film, supposedly Marina Sirtis. Ryan passed on the opportunity, not wanting to take a break from Boston Public already, and also out of fear of being typecast. She also felt that her presence in the film was merely fan service, since her character from Voyager never served on the Enterprise and therefore wouldn't know anyone from the crew. The studio then offered her a cameo as a guest at Riker and Troy's wedding in the beginning, which she also passed on because that would not make any sense.
Jordan, I don't know if you have any more on that situation, but I feel like in the last
with Marina Sirtis,
yeah, with what actually happened with that whole the negotiating for Nemesis situation with Sirtis.
I know I read one. I don't know if I copied it in here, but go ahead.
I think last few years she also mentioned, and this is for all you, we're all big Rick Berman fans here, right?
Right.
So this was another negotiating thing. I think Marina wanted a little bit more money for Nemesis, or was just going to get a huge pay cut. Either way, when she complained, she was met by Rick Berman, who said, you just won't be in the movie, then we'll replace you with Jerry Ryan. And so she reluctantly took the role, but there was like no negotiation, nothing. They're just like, we'll just take you out and put in Jerry. So take it or leave it.
Well,
Wow.
Sometimes you just got to scratch it, girl.
That's good advice, Chelsea. Thank you.
Hey, and you know what? I mean, not to make light of it, but I wonder if Rick had a conversation with whoever wrote the script and wrote that scene in because Marina wanted more money. And that's like, not that I have any insight into that, but not that Rick Berman would do anything like that.
No, not our Rick.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Before you continue, Jordan.
Jonathan Frakes.
Before you continue, I did want to say this, since Chelsea brought it up with her, you just got to scratch it, girl.
It had to come up before the end of this podcast.
Okay, since this is probably our last podcast, we should say there was a Village Inn by us that we used to frequent. It's disgusting, but we'd still go like once a month.
It's closed.
It's closed now. It's going to be a car wash. And it'll probably have better food. And
it'll be a lot cleaner.
But there was a manager there by the name of Rick. So I think we just named him Rick Berman because
No, I'm pretty sure his name was Rick Berman.
his name was Rick Berman.
It started with a B.
Oh yeah, it was Rick B. So we
Close enough.
naturally assumed he was Rick Berman. Also, we assumed that just based on the way he treated his waiting staff. So he was just a very misogynist manager walking around by the name of Rick Berman. And one night when we were seated, one of the waitresses, they take your name and write it down. Apparently, she didn't like scratch the previous people that have been seated name off. So he called her over. It's like, come on, you just got to scratch it, girl. Just got to scratch it. And he like scratches the names off the list. So that's the Rick Berman we know. Apparently every Rick Berman in the world is a horrible monster.
Snoop Dogg?
That will always be my Rick Berman.
Yeah. So Rick Berman to us is
Sometimes you just gotta scratch it, girl.
Yeah.
I love this story
Gotta
that Rick
scratch
Berman
it.
ends up being the manager of a now defunct village. And
Yes.
What a career arc.
Oh,
It seems fitting.
yeah. He finally got his
for-
comeuppance.
It's more of a story arc than anyone in this movie.
Yeah.
This is probably my favorite fun fact for this film. Jonathan Frakes refused to shave his back for the love scene turned psychic rape with Troy.
My man.
The hair on his back was digitally removed by an effects house. Imagine getting that job request. Yeah, we need to remove Jonathan Frakes' back hair for a sex scene in which Troy is psychically raped.
Lucasfilm,
sorry.
can we borrow you for a second?
Troy is threatened to be replaced by Jerry Ryan when she asks for probably marketable compensation for her role. And Riker's just like, yeah, I'm not shaving my back hair. And they're just like, okay, we'll spend lots of money and have it digitally removed. Thank you. Bye.
Well, to be fair, they were going to pay a lot of money to have Marina Sirtis digitally removed.
Also,
or they threatened to.
Riker's
Director Stuart Baird was... Go ahead.
Oh, I don't think you want me to finish that.
Go ahead, Chelsea.
No. You have our undivided attention.
We know how you feel about arm hair, Chelsea. How do you feel about back
I was just
hair?
going to say Riker didn't have to shave his back because he's a man, so he actually gets control over his body.
Oh, very topical.
Director Stuart Baird was reportedly oblivious to the Star Trek universe to the point that he thought Geordi LaForge was an alien instead of a human with cybernetic eyes. Screenwriter John Logan, on the other hand, was a longtime fan of Star Trek who relished the opportunity to contribute to the franchise.
Why didn't we have
Nicholas
Star Trek
Meyer was
writers?
approached to direct this film by producer Rick Berman, but Rick Berman told him he'd need to shave his back hair. Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Mixing fun facts. But he told Berman that he would want to do a rewrite of the screenplay. What? Why would he want to do that? Berman was forced to refuse as he already promised John Logan full control over the screenplay. And so Meyer respectfully turned down the offer. He directed Star Trek 2 and 6. So, yeah. Don't let that guy direct a Star Trek film. Berman next considered offering LeVar Burton a chance to direct, but was then ordered by the studio to hire Stuart Baird. So I touched on that earlier. In an early draft of the script, Ashley Judd was supposed to briefly reprise her role as Robin Leffler. The flowers behind Captain Picard at the wedding party are Stargazer lilies. Picard's first command was the USS Stargazer. That might be the most research they did on the entire film was that. This was Jerry Goldsmith's final score for a theatrical movie. He died on July 21st. Since Goldsmith scored both the first Star Trek, the motion picture, and Star Trek movies, and this one, his music effectively bookended the original series of 10 movies. Denise Crosby discussed the executive producer Rick Berman the possibility of using, he's having a lot of conversations, possibility of using her character Sela in this film, but they could not work out a way to properly adapt the character into this film. You couldn't figure that out. Like, you couldn't figure Shinzon out either. Like,
the story was just so tight. There was no room.
Well, Denise Crosby didn't want to do it for free, so Rick Berman wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, for work
There you
experience.
A scene was filmed but deleted, which saw Captain Picard and Data talk about aspects of life, change, necessary change, evolution, loss, friendship, and family over a glass of Chateau Picard. Okay, well, they deleted the best film scene in the freaking film.
The buggy scene was so cool.
The existence of B4 is consistent with the episode Inheritance, in which it is said that Dr. Soong built 3 prototypes before Lore and Data. And yeah, if I made 3 prototypes, I would definitely name one of them B4.
Right.
I wouldn't start with B1. The earliest version of the script was written so that Patrick Stewart would have been playing Captain Picard and Praetor Shinzon, and the final battle between the Enterprise and the Scimitar took place in the orbit of Earth for some reason.
No, that's too good.
This is another nice little touch. Worf's sash carries the emblem of the House of Martok rather than the House of Mogh, consistent with his costume in the later seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Shinzon is actually a Chinese name chosen by screenwriter John Logan as it continues the trend of Chinese names for Romulan characters, as well as the new Riemann characters. Logan admitted that he has absolutely no idea what the name actually means. So,
He's continuing a long and heartfelt legacy of appropriation. Yay!
Yep. Scenes deleted from the film's ending would have introduced Stephen Culp as Commander Madden, Riker's replacement, as the Enterprise's first officer. Culp later appeared as Major Hayes in the 3rd season of Star Trek Enterprise.
He's a Section 31 guy, wasn't he?
He was a top Mako guy.
Gotcha.
According to Brent Spiner, in August 24, 2012, at a Canadian convention, it's called HAM, he went to the Capitol Records and recorded the whole song Blue Skies in Studio A. He also filmed singing the whole thing for this film, but they only used a small part of that scene. That was Connor's favorite scene, and they cut it short.
Well.
Majel Barrett Roddenberry was unable to make a cameo as Loxana Troy for the wedding scene. Gene Roddenberry's widow was working on the television series Andromeda, which started in 2000, of which Majel Barrett was the executive producer. And I will say, in the show Andromeda, because unfortunately I've seen a season of Andromeda, there's a species called macaw, and they look similarly, from what I remember, to the pig people on the planet that are chasing Picard. So I don't know if there's anything there, but it reminded me of them when I read that. There is a persistent rumor that Michelle Forbes can be seen reprising her role of character Ro Laren during the wedding reception. It is claimed that she is the dark-haired woman seen smiling behind Guinan during Picard's speech, but the actress Michelle Forbes is not in this film. And it would also make no sense for her to be at the wedding. But that would have been kind of cool if they could have worked her into the script. There's a lot of options here. They had a lot to work with, and this is what we got.
I guess it makes as much sense as Wesley being there after leaving with the Traveler.
This is very true. The film was produced simultaneously with the second season of Star Trek Enterprise. So this truly was the golden age of Star Trek. The name Shinzon is loosely adapted from Zenjan, which is Mandarin and means inside one's heart. So take that, John Logan. Eat your heart out.
Like
space battle at the climax was originally much more epic. Yeah, that's a good question. With the Romulan Armada joining in a 6-on-1 battle. This was scaled down due to budget constraints. So when they got the 2 Romulan ships. Only a few left, guys. Fun facts are longer than Nemesis. Marina Sirtis nearly didn't return as Deanna Troi due to negotiations not going smoothly. That's one way to say it. Jeremy, you already touched on that. Jude Law was originally considered for the role of Praetor Shinzon. There's actually 3 different people. Jude Law was the biggest name that I recognized, but he looked a lot like Patrick Stewart. What? In order to get the job of directing this film, Stuart Baird did uncredited re-editing work for other Paramount films, including Mission Impossible 2 and Lara Croft's Tomb Raider. Stuart Baird called the scene in which Commander Riker and the Riemann Viceroy chase each other through the bowels of the Enterprise the film's Alien moment, as in the film Alien from 1979, which is actually a good film. Speaking of Alien, Ron Perlman previously appeared in Alien Resurrection, which is another science fiction film also based in the year 2379. So both these films have Ron Perlman and are set in the exact same year.
And they both suck.
Very true. Honestly, I wonder which one is like more detrimental to the franchise, Star Trek Nemesis or Alien Resurrection. They were both terrible.
Yeah.
But I don't want to watch Alien Resurrection again to find out.
Someone else should do a
The end of the final fight between Picard and Shinzon echoes the legend of King Arthur in Sir Thomas Mallory's Le Morte d'Arthur. On the battlefield of Arthur's last battle, the king runs a spear through Mordred, his evil, illegitimate son. With the last of his strength, Mordred impales himself even further onto the spear to be within striking distance of his father and lands a mortal sword blow to King Arthur's head. So I guess that's what they're going for. But Shinzon just like gently grabs Picard around the throat, and
it's a metaphor,
weird.
Jordan.
Which they both ripped off from Lord of the Rings when Aragorn impales Lurtz before.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything can be a ripoff of Lord of the Rings. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Hey, it was written long before this was.
Okay, Jordan.
Hobbit hole.
Sorry. Oh. And Jeremy, you're going to be digitally removed from this podcast because you refuse to shave your feet. So, in one of the deleted scenes, it is shown that the captain's seat finally gets seat belts. Until this point, there have not been any instances of seat belts being used on a starship in the Star Trek universe, which has changed since. But yeah, if you watch the Blu-ray, there is the scene where Picard's seat belt comes out, and it's kind of cool. And lastly, someone was stupid enough to compare this to the Wrath of Khan, saying that it parallels the Wrath of Khan. The main antagonist is hell-bent on killing the captain of the Enterprise. Data and Spock both sacrifice their lives to save their captain. And Data's memories are transferred into B4 as Spock's memories were transferred into Dr. McCoy's mind. If you're going to rip off this film or Star Trek 2, do it better. They do this here and in Into Darkness, and it sucks both times.
Yeah.
Was the person that made that comparison burned at the stake?
Yes.
I was hoping
If
you'd
not,
say that.
they will be.
Which
Good
is
stuff.
why McCoy does a funny voice in Star Trek 3 where he's like, why does
Yes.
Kirk have a funny face? Just really
You sound like
spining
the
it.
dean from Community. Stop.
Another bald guy. He could have played Shinzon.
Adorable.
Absolutely.
Better than
could.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, a sassy evil Picard. Sign me up.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Give me that film.
All right, guys.
That's all the fun facts.
Thank you, Jordan. We just got 45 minutes left, guys. Bear with us. Also,
perfect.
Well, that just leaves us 4 deleted scenes. Chelsea, are we skipping you this week?
I have something written down.
Go for it.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
It says no thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chelsea.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Amazing.
Thanks for having me.
You made the effort.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Appreciate it,
Very
Chelsea.
creative.
Leta, we'll send it over to you, deleted scenes.
You know, I don't have Paramount, so I have to like rent the movies, each one.
We're so sorry.
And when Tom Hardy popped up on the screen in that outfit, I legit had to check that I didn't rent the new Venom movie. I was like, oh my god, who is this?
Wait, you had to pay for this? Leta.
Yeah,
Leta,
He
no.
definitely looked like a creature.
We'll work something out, Leta.
Yes.
No,
Sorry.
no, we must reimburse
Yeah.
you. Oh, Lord.
No, it's okay. It's
God.
perfectly fine.
I'm not sorry.
Thank you so much for your sacrifice, Leta. That's incredible.
You're
Sarah
so
McLaughlin song at that in post.
$2.
You're here paying money
I will
while
never recover.
we're raking in the money because it's that time again, Connor.
Yes.
It is ad time.
You thought Jordan's segment was long.
Yeah. Leta's paying $5 for this. We're making a grand easy.
Less than renting. It's less than having the channel Paramount, so I count it as a win.
Fair.
But I'm gonna have to do that soon.
So we have many things in this final outing of ours, which hopefully will go better than it did for the next gen crew.
I'm sure it has.
But I want to say that today's episode is sponsored by Skin Sheets.
Of course.
That age old brand. If you are hunkering for some good fashioned real skin sheets, go to skinsheets.com and tell them that Connor sent you, and you'll get a free severed finger in the mail. Yeah.
And Connor, don't forget our new sponsor, part of Skin Sheets, Shin Sheets. If you like your sheets extra veiny.
Yes, and for the retirement home, Shit Sheets. But anyway, moving on.
I want to hear more about shit sheets, please.
Guys, I don't have my sensor button.
You will when you get a little bit older. Anyway, so
What do you mean a little bit?
They're made from recycled human waste.
Yes.
Thank you, Jordan. Very informative.
Yes.
Better, Connor.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. Anyway, and of course we also have this old staple, Winston cigarettes, with this little jingle. Winston cigarettes are cool and mild. It's good for you and your unborn child.
Thank you, Connor.
And then of course, we're also on a musical romp because the Temerians love Christian alternative rock. Huge fan of the band Creed, and I recently got this sample from this up and coming group. Timber his arms wide open. Tanagra, welcome to this place.
Very good.
This is very interesting stuff. And another thing.
Another one.
We're getting an incoming transmission from Janeway singing one final lament. It's crazy.
Never saw my lugs burning so bright. Never saw things going so right. Notice my lifespan hurrying by. When you're in love with 6 mile they fly. Oh, ash skies smiling at me, nothing but ash skies. Do I see bloody lungs singing a song? Nothing but blood lugs all day long. Bile days, all of them gone. Nothing but ass guys from now on.
Simone. And then one final thing. Of course, Jedidiah Longstreet. Not to be confused with that liberal city slicker urbanite Obadiah Short Road, his cousin. Jedidiah Longstreet is come to comfort the fans.
Hello there. It's me, Jedidiah Longstreet, Civil War veteran, cult leader, and freedom lover, and a man whose accents changes with every depiction of his character. I know things are rough out there, but when things get tough, call me, baby. Just head to a mirror, sacrifice something dear to you on an altar, and whisper my name 3 times, Cthulhu Matagan Nathak Nakrors. And I shall tear through this fragile reality, and I'll come help you, friend, whatever you need. It's been good. And in the words of Tom Hardy from the Fast and the Furious movies, you'll always be my brother.
That sounds like a really nice demon.
I have a very confusing backstory.
Really comforting about the way he sounds.
That's how he gets you.
Yeah.
We're going to miss
Don't
you,
listen to the
Jedidiah.
devil's
Just saying.
southern charms.
I don't hate Jedidiah,
It makes a lot of sense when he says it like that.
if that's your real name.
Farewell, Jedidiah. Thank you, Connor.
Of course.
And thank you for all the ads that we got this week.
Of course. Thank my throat for making all those horrifying noises. Good God.
I'm not going to thank your throat. Joselyn. Joselyn, we'll throw it over to you.
I don't. Okay. I'm going to go on record as the chief medical officer for this podcast that I cannot endorse like any of our advertisers. So, do not reflect the views of this medical officer. Also, as the medical officer for this podcast, I have an FSA, which is a future service announcement for the people of Earth 2379. Just going to record this now, and then they can play it. Then I'm going to assume the people of 2379 are going to be a lot like the people of 2021 Earth. So here's my message. People of Earth, I'm once again coming to you to discuss the dangers of theta radiation and the need for all members of the Federation community to get vaccinated. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation out there about theta radiation lately, and in particular, the Thalaron variant. So I just wanted to dispel a few myths. Myth, theta radiation and the Thalaron mutation, let's just call it the Delta variant for short, are not real. Fact, theta radiation is real, and millions in the galaxy are literally turning to stone, falling over, and instantly crumbling into tiny bits. Myth. If I get theta radiation, I can just take over-the-counter caplamectin and cure myself. Fact. Although over-the-counter caplamectin is an effective medication when used to treat Denevan neural parasitic infections in targs, it has not been shown to be effective as a treatment for theta radiation or the Delta variant. And frankly, people are like getting really sick on it. Myth. If I am a big, strong Klingon and put my trust in Kalis to protect me, I don't need to worry about theta radiation. Fact. Klingons are suffering from theta radiation infections at the same rate as every other species in the quadrant, and in fact there's actually been a spike in infection rates among Klingons with the new Delta variant after a House Duras rally became a super spreader event. So just to sum up, theta radiation is real, and until we can get the entire galaxy vaccinated, variants like Delta will continue to crop up and wreak havoc on our communities. The vaccine is safe and completely free because money doesn't mean anything, and the acquisition of wealth is no longer the driving force in our lives. Please get vaccinated. Your nurses are tired. Your doctors are tired. At this point, even the emergency medical holograms are tired. Plus, people are literally still turning to stone and dying. So that's it for me. Long live the Blessed Exchequer and long live the United Federation of Planets.
The vaccine is so good that it actually cured my autism instead of causing it.
Tight, yeah. All right, great information,
And
everybody.
Those comments, but get your theta vaccine, guys. I mean, come on. Let's do this.
Connor doesn't have a medical degree, but I know him, so I trust him. Over you. Sorry, Jocelyn.
Or some egghead.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Jordan, deleted scene.
Yes, deleted scene. I forgot where I was for a minute. I'm sure I've got one around here. I think I had a couple, but yes, the Romulans also cloned an original draft of the script, Riker. Not Thomas Riker, though. That was too convenient. They needed more plot contrivances. A separate Riker clone was created by the Romulans. The reveal came in an epic scene where Kevin Riker removes his sideburns.
He removes his back hair.
Yeah, he removes his fake back hair.
You're not Will.
Connor, that is better. No. Deanna Troy's grabs him, and the back hair comes off during the Shinzon scene. So she is horrified in multiple ways.
Imzadi, no.
Like his back hair and mutton chops are all one piece. They just come all off in one strip.
It's all connected. Yeah. It's all connected.
Who are you?
No, that's all I got.
All right, very good. And since we're running a little long, I'll keep it brief and just do the three that I have. This first one, I got a bunch of deleted scenes and first drafts from this movie, so you're really going to want to pay attention here. The first draft of the Shinzon Picard dinner scene was initially much more violent.
Together with the Riemann slaves, I was condemned to an existence of unceasing labor and starvation under the brutal heel of the Romulan guards. Only the very strongest had any hope of survival. I was only a child when they took me. Then I didn't see the sun or the stars again for nearly 10 years.
Oh, you think darkness is your ally? You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it.
The only thing the Romulan guards hated more than the Riemans was me.
I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then it was nothing to me but blinding. The shadows betray you because they belong to me.
All right, so deemed a little much when he started breaking Picard's back in the dinner scene. I do want to say though, Batman the Third,
Oh, is that his formal name?
yeah, gets
Batman the
a lot of
Third.
flack, but I really do enjoy Tom Hardy as Bane. I think he's one of the best parts of that movie. So
he's my favorite Batman villain.
Okay, in all seriousness, if you want to see the best of Tom Hardy, watch Peaky Blinders. He plays this hideous-looking man, and
Tom
it's
Hardy.
a great character.
You're not
It's
selling it.
amazing.
I've
Use
tried
subtitles though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I tried to get into it, but it's just like, oh, you go there, got it. Where you go? Oh, yeah. Oh, you just in there.
I'll take this on get my telly, innit?
And I love BBC. I love a lot of British television. I can't understand Peaky Blinders.
What?
Well, I think they're Irish, aren't they?
All right, and so our second.
That's exactly how all of your accents sound. You should
that's wrong.
You should know.
Also in a scene cut because it made 0 sense. It turns out Shinzon was in the background of the Riker-Troy wedding next to Ro. And if you listen closely, you can even hear him.
Never saw the sun, shining so bright. Never saw things going so right. Noticing the days hurrying by. When you're in love, my how they fly. Oh, blue skies, smiling at me. Nothing but blue skies do I see.
That's a lovely, lovely voice.
And finally, I guess they edited this scene because one Romulan reacted a bit out of character.
And when I return, you and I shall have a little talk about showing proper respect.
What's happening to his face?
Oh my God! What's wrong with your face?
Finally.
So, how did Nemesis do this week? Using the combined average score of ourselves, you guys who voted at home, Star Trek Nemesis lands with a final score of a 4.33. And now that we are done with the original 10 movies, I think it's time to unveil the final rankings and where Nemesis fits in.
I'm ready. My body is prepared.
This is surprising. We'll start at number 1 because, Nemesis isn't going to fall in the first half. We'll just say that. Number 1 movie at Star Trek Wars with a 9.91 remains Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Woo! Number 2 with a 9.49, Star Trek First Contact.
What?
You were there, Joselyn.
You created it.
You created it. It is real. Don't you understand? It is real.
We can't just leave these ratings here.
Number 3 with a 9.47. Remember how close that was, Jocelyn? 9.49 to a 9.47. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. At number 4 with an 8.83 is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Ooh. At number 5 with an 8.01, Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. 5 movies with an 8 or higher.
Wow.
That's pretty good. Let's get into the worst. At number 6 with a 6.73, maybe surprising to some, Star Trek Insurrection. Number 6.
Yeah, it's too high.
Number 7 with a 5.92, Star Trek The Motion Picture. Number 8, the bottom 3. Here we go. Number 8 with a 5.23, Star Trek Generations. This is it. It all comes down to this. Number 9 with a 4.37, Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, finishing in last place with a 4.33. Well, we just watched it. It's Star Trek Nemesis.
Nemesis.
Victory! We have victory! You guys did it. We did it. We did it. So, my friends, here on the shores of Nemesis, a mere 3 hours in, lies the end of our fellowship.
Oh, I'm into this.
I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. And of course, I'm quoting Lord of the Rings because I use it to mask my sadness. Yes, this is most likely the final time all of us are gathered together. But Star Trek Wars is not going anywhere. In fact, it's about to get real busy. Chelsea and I will be back next week for the Lower Decks finale. Then that will be the last of her and I until next year when we return to cover Season 3 and Strange New Worlds with Jordan. Discovery begins its 4th season next month and will be covered by Jordan and Joselyn, who will then also go on to cover the 2nd season of Picard in February. Plus, all 6 of us will return in some capacity for hopefully a strange and entertaining look back at the podcast next month in a fun retrospective episode. We also have not ruled out covering Prodigy at this time, Right now, it's just a matter of getting the busy host scheduling down, because the idea of who we want to cover that show makes me very happy, and I'd really love for that to work out. In the meantime, Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. And if you haven't done so yet, please take a minute to leave an iTunes review. That simple gesture goes a tremendous long way in helping other like-minded Trekkies find us. Write a review, and we will read it on air. You can also find us on Twitter at the Star Trek Wars. And if you want some fine Star Trek Wars merchandise, head over to redbubble.com or follow the link attached to this episode. My friends, it is and was always a pleasure to see you all. Leta, you've been with us since our season 5 premiere, which was nearly 4 years ago.
Oh, God.
That's insane.
Thank you so much for everything you've contributed to this podcast. And that goes for your husband, Adam, as well, who designed our logo. It has always been a pleasure. Where can they find you?
Thank you, Jeremy. You can find me. I'll be continuing to review shows on Star Trek Wars and with y'all. And I'm just being thankful for every single one of you. Thankful to Jordan for asking me to be on the podcast for a couple of episodes, and for Jeremy for letting me stay on. I feel like I've grown so much as a person just because of this podcast, and it's something that's brought me a lot of joy in my life. I've really loved every minute of it, and it's brought me out of a little bit of a shell. So I appreciate every single one of you, all the council members. You know so much. You're so intimidating. Everybody on the council is so freaking smart. You know so much about Star Trek, and it blows me away. So just thankful.
Thank you, Leta, and we're thankful for you. Joselyn, you came in to rescue us from a Connor-sized hole in season 7, which is gigantic, by the way. If you ever see him run through a wall.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for coming on board as our chief medical officer. Where can they find you?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm the newest kid here, but I really am grateful that you let me come on the show. After begging you to let me on and after refusing to shave my back, I just feel like that was really generous of you. And I feel like I've been able to come out of the Star Trek fan closet in a way by going back in my closet and recording this show with you all. So it's been really fun to like re-experience this stuff in like, I don't know, such like a communal setting. So it's been awesome. I'll miss you being here, and I'll keep doing this as long as possible. So that's where you can find me.
Thank you, and we'll see you, holy cow, next month for Discovery, which is super exciting. Chelsea, you went from someone who had never seen a single episode of Trek to someone that now tolerates it. And hosting Lower Decks with you is so much fun, and thank you for doing that with me. I love you.
Oh, I love you.
Where can people find you?
I just want to correct Joselyn. Actually, I'm the new kid, so you've got tenure. You've got tenure.
Sweet. Time for contract negotiations.
I think I tried to be on like a episode of actual Star Trek Wars, and I'm like, that's a lot of homework, and I don't love the homework, so I think I'm good. But yeah, I mean, I'll be doing Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds. I mean, I feel like on the schedule, this is the last time we're all going to be on a cast, but I mean, spoilers, I don't think that's true.
Ooh. That's true. It is an open door policy, so you may see us pop up.
So, but I don't know. I love you guys.
Much
Thanks
like Kate
for
Mulgrew.
Tolerating me and my cynicism. Appreciate y'all.
Appreciate you. And just know, Joselyn, if you try to restructure your contract, I'll just replace you with Melanie.
No, the hell you won't.
Jordan. My sweet Jordan. You've been with us for nearly 6 years now, and it just wouldn't be Star Trek Wars without you. I'm so thankful you're staying on to steer this starship You are captain now. Look at you. You're the captain now. It has been an honor serving with you. Where can they find you?
It has been an honor. I hope you enjoy being an admiral. I'm sure you'll be back from time to time. They can find me on the upcoming Discovery podcast, potentially, because I've heard, if it does happen, there's panic at the disco. Apparently, Discovery's in trouble and could be canceled.
We have reliable sources.
That has already been shot and edited and releasing in a month. But I watch YouTube, so I know what's happening. I mean, it's been almost 6 years. You said by the time this episode's over, it'll be almost 7. It's been a blast. I'm sad, mainly sad because we had to end on Nemesis, but it was fun. I enjoyed spending time with you guys. I get to hang out with my sister Joselyn, who has moved 1,000 miles away from me. Leta, Jeremy, and just Connor. Since Connor, before puberty, I was here when he got his first Gorch. Chelsea. It's just like it started as a sausage fest when I joined, and now we have a whole cornucopia of meats. So it's just good to have all these different perspectives.
There's 4 sausages between the 3 of us.
I love talking about Star Trek with other people that love it, and having the council. I think that's where the show really took off, where they came on and they kind of saved the show in a lot of ways, and then just added new life to it, and being able to see their opinions on the show and voting on it, and just kind of having all this data that we've collected. RIP. It's really cool just to have all the ratings of every episode and every movie and all the history that we have, and years from now going back and be able to listen to some of these episodes. And I think retrospective would be awesome to do, because we've had so many moments throughout the years, and I've had so much fun. So I just appreciate all of you and everyone who listens. So
thank you, Jordan.
That's all I got.
Aww.
Connor.
Yes.
I'm just so proud of you.
Oh.
You were a kid when we started this thing, and look at you now. You're gigantic.
Oh.
Not just in size, which is enormous, but mostly just the way you are and who you are, and like you've grown so much as a human being. You're so smart, so funny, so compassionate. I can't wait to see what you do next, and I just love you so much.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Where can they find you?
Oh, good question. Oh my God, I'm getting a little bit emotional, which I'm usually not one to do. Well, I guess you can find me at college. It's what I do nowadays. But I'm gonna go into what everyone's doing, into the SAP sphere, if you will. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to see what this podcast has evolved into, because I remember the podcast started as your devious ploy to get me to watch Star Trek, and it worked, because I watch Star Trek in my free time now without him hey kid, he's prodding me, watch Star Trek. I just do it, on my own. I just love watching Star Trek. So it worked. Yes. But just looking at the evolution of the podcast, where we're just we didn't have pros or cons in the beginning, which is weird to think about. We're just here's what I just kind of thought about the episode, ramble for a while. We used Rock Band mics,
yes,
and Garage Band. Mm-hmm. It was a different time, and it took you 12 hours to edit one of these bad boys. Now it only takes you 11 and a half. Look at how time flies. But the greatest thing about this podcast is being able to connect with an international community. We have James King and Lainey and Benedict Schneider, and we have all these just wonderful people who are so personable and kind and know so much about Star Trek and are so involved. And of course, we have our great co-hosts as well. And the show would not be the same without them. I think the podcast, we were so close to the edge of garbage But then this man named Jordan Rosenwinkel rose like a phoenix from the ashes and saved us. So without Jordan brought the fun facts and just his great wit and observations, and he just elevated the show with all this behind the scenes knowledge that turned into novels later on as the series went on, when there were more interesting episodes to talk about, because sometimes the fun facts are 30 seconds, sometimes they're 6 minutes, but it's always fantastic stuff to know. Leta got brought on a little bit later, I think season 5, and she holds my all-time favorite Star Trek Wars quote, which is the phrase Pepto-Bismol Pilgrim, which is the most wonderful thing I have ever heard in my 18, almost 19 years on this earth, and I will never forget that as long as I live. I took a hiatus around late season 6 because I had to get my life together, because I had this startling realization that I'm almost a grown man, physically and legally. I'm like 12, but I drive. I had to get my life together because I had my quarter life crisis, and I had to take a hiatus. And that's when Joselyn came into the show, and Joselyn is incredible. Joselyn has such a great humor, and of course, as someone who worked in the medical field, has like this really interesting in-depth knowledge of medical stuff that goes way over my head as someone who just reads science fiction books all day. When you talk about this doesn't really make sense in this episode when they use this treatment for this thing, that doesn't really work in the real life. That's really awesome. Just very unique insights. And I'm really glad that you joined us, even if it was pretty late. Chelsea, of course, fantastic. I could not think of anyone who I'd rather call my mother. Wonderful person, a joy to have, and also really came out of her shell for doing this. And her cynicism really, I think, is hilarious and really adds a great new angle to the show. And of course, there's Dad. And again, your sinister plot succeeded. I hope you feel joy in that.
I do.
Good. Me too.
Long con.
You've talked about my physical and mental growth, but I want to talk about your mental growth. I know that sometimes I can seem a little bit short-sighted. Okay, I'm gonna stop with those jokes. No. Because I know you're on a bit of a short fuse at the moment, but I'm really proud of you too, and for just creating this in the first place, and just introducing me to podcasting. I think it's such an incredible thing that I will never forget this. Mainly because I've spent so many hours doing it, but also because you know what I mean. Good words and such. You can find me writing papers.
Thank you, Connor. Well, as for me, you can find me. I'm leaving Star Trek Wars to write a country album.
Oh.
And you can expect my first single to come out. I can't believe I shaved my back for this to come out next year.
And even cover of all of your favorite Toby Keith songs, but it's Star Trek themed.
Yep. There's not even a CD in it.
I'll shove the Baku up your ass.
And even if you don't hear from me as much, just know I'll be there, as always, here on Star Trek Wars. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.